Hi, everybody. Can you hear me okay? Oops. I don't know what I just got into. Can you guys let me know in the chat if you can hear me? Okay, yes. Hey, Amy. It looks like you guys have been on here chatting for a while. I am so sorry that there was a huge delay. That is totally my fault. It was, hey, Joe, totally irresponsible of me. I thought that I could lay down earlier and take a quick nap. And I woke up at 8:02, right when I was supposed to be starting a live. So I couldn't just come on live. I had to postpone it so that I could get situated and all of the above. I have had a crazy week. So I'm glad it's Friday. Very glad it's Friday. I hope everyone is doing well. Hey, Trina. Maui girl, you are in Hawaii. Did you see that the monster got arrested? Good old Lori Vallow. Hey, Tisha. Hey, honeybee. Yeah, I wasn't even tired. I think it's just been a very stressful week. And a very draining week. And I just crashed, totally crashed. So I'm going to wait for a few people to join and we'll get busy here and start talking about some things. She is going down. Oh my gosh, glowing embers. She looks like Amy and I were talking about it earlier. She looks like she's aged 20 years in 3 days. Yeah, smug Lori. Chad is next. He's next. It's coming because he lied to cops. So they'll probably get him in Idaho. So today has been interesting in Gannon's case. There's been quite a lot that's actually happened in the last 24 hours just on social media. I'm glad you're here, Donnie Color. I'm glad you're here. Whose little soft voice is that, Raquel? Oh, absolutely he knows. Absolutely he knows, Glowing Ember. He lied to the cops. He lied to his family. We were looking, I read the probable cause affidavit, and it's terrible. It's terrible how many lies they've told. And so anyways, we're going to get to it. I'm going to share some. Marie, I'll send you the arrest affidavit. I sadly do not believe that they are hidden in a bunker. I wish that I could believe that. Oh, yeah, I didn't listen to her in court. Alaska, oh my gosh. Hawaii is what? I think they're 5 hours behind me, 6 hours behind me, something like that. So when Lori was in court earlier today, I was totally sleeping on my couch. I had every intention of watching it, and I totally missed it. Oh, I'll have to read that. I haven't seen that one yet. On Dog the Bounty Hunter's interview. Oh, I can send it to you, Trina. Do you know how to find me on Facebook? I'll send it to you. Oh, good. They didn't lower her bail. Great. Because it's interesting that they set the bond at $5 million because Chad got a life insurance payout of $443,000. So they set that bond high enough. Yeah, are you guys all in the Gannon Facebook group? Because if you are, you can see me in there. And you can message me and I'll send you the probable cause affidavit for sure. Let me drop the link to his Facebook group. Oops. Let me drop the link and just in case any of you. Did they really, Amy? Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. So there's Gannon's group. You know who I am in there, I'm sure. You can send me a message through Messenger and I'll send you the probable cause affidavit. What? They wanted to drop it. Her lawyer tried to get it to 10K. She's told right now she's facing 14 years each for each of the kids. Hey, Sadie. And that's just for abandonment of them. Maui girl, I'm not sure. I probably did. So most of you on here should know if you're in the Facebook group. I had very limited access on Facebook this week. Very limited. I was set free today. And wow, I can't believe she tried that. I was set free today, so hopefully. Yeah, me too, Will. It's good to see you here. Hopefully I won't have any more issues. But my Facebook, I'm in the Facebook group. My name is Danielle Renee in the Facebook group. Hold on one second. So today, what did we have? Yeah, I watched it. Julie Rose, one of a kind. Ooh, buddy. She's one of a kind. Yeah, I'm going to look up Dog's interview and we're totally going to go over that because he did an interview about Gannon, I believe, tonight. And Joe, yeah, my probation officer, my Facebook probation officer since I was sadly in Facebook jail all week long and I did nothing wrong. Absolutely nothing, you guys. I don't cuss on Facebook. I don't share inappropriate stuff. I guess sometimes when you put yourself out here like this, sometimes people don't like that and they somehow get you in Facebook jail. I didn't even have any notifications or anything. Nothing. I was just in jail. The only thing I could do on Facebook this week was on my personal Facebook, I could post a status, like a written status, or I could upload a picture. I couldn't even share a link, you guys. I couldn't even send links in Messenger. It was absolutely ridiculous. Yeah, I'm a pretty honest person, April. So I don't people don't like the truth. And that's okay. They don't have to like it. It doesn't change. It doesn't change what the truth is. So I don't sugarcoat stuff. So yeah, I wanted to play this audio for you guys. I'm not going to put it on the screen. I'm just going to hold it up to my mic and see how that works. Because this is powerful. Did anybody see Landon's interview last night? That was horribly sad. Hey, Iris. I know, Joe, right? Well, and to be fair, that was the second time in 7 days that it happened. So the last 2 weeks, I just didn't tell anybody. The week before, well, Joe knew and Amy knew and everybody else knew, but I didn't let the Facebook group know because I just wrote it out and I never thought it'd happen again. Yeah, people are... J.A., I saw those messages, yes. Hey, Mignon. Hey. Okay, I'm going to play this audio. This is just from earlier today. From Landon. And, oh, you know what? I'll try to play the dog interview, too. You guys are going to have to let me know, though, because if you can hear it okay the way I'm going to do it. Just give me just 1 second to pull this up. Oops. All right, let's listen to Landon really quick. It's really hard to hear, but we will. And if you can't hear it, let me know.
Normally mommies have answers, or have a Band-Aid to put on a boo-boo. Like, we're the ones that normally handle that. And not knowing where he's at, if he's okay, if he's cold, if he doesn't have food. Like, that's a mom's role. And I can't get to him, and you kind of feel like a failure when you can't. And like I said, 3-4 weeks. Farthest I've gone talking to him, not talking is 3 days. And thank goodness for this. Because I hear his voice. Will you play it again? Yeah. So I'm just begging. I would do anything for my baby to come home. I need him. I need awareness. I want it everywhere. I made a post on Facebook today. It was just, please don't let this, go away. Please keep sharing and posting, because it only takes 1 day, one post to reach to somebody that it has it, and that could be bringing Gannon home. So please, anything you know, let us know. Let the sheriff's office know. Let somebody know, because this is getting hard. It's getting extremely hard, and I just need him. Send my baby home.
That's it. It's just a short audio clip. It's very, very heartbreaking. I'm going to play dogs too, just while I'm in here. My heart goes out to Landon, and she made a post today, to just keep talking about Gannon and keep his name out there. And that is what I'm going to do. Even if I have nothing to talk about, I said to myself today, I will keep coming on here and we will keep talking and we will keep his name out there because as a mother, I cannot imagine the fear of not knowing where my child is or if my child's okay. And I just want to support her. I just want to support her and keep his name out there. So it's very hard to hear. It's very sad. Um, yeah, that is what he said. He said, I have another sister. Yeah. I like that idea too, Dale, because Gannon is such a huge fan of Sonic. I think that would be great if they could recognize Gannon, you know? So I am going to bring your guys' favorite Amy on so that she can be on here with me tonight. So we can discuss a few things. There was a couple things that I wanted to talk about. I'm going to play the dog interview as well. But here's Amy, you guys. I'm going to add her right now. Yeah, Casey, I really thought that Sonic doll was really cool. Hey, Amy.
Hi.
How are you?
Well,
Good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm like everybody else. I'm hopeful and wishing that we had some more news, but
I know. I know.
hard. So I'm glad Lolo's in jail.
Oh
That
gosh. Loco Lolo.
Loco Lolo.
She's one of a kind. One of a kind.
You're
Yep.
being kind.
Yeah. Yeah. Um So, what did we see today? The crime scene units were back at the house.
Yes.
They called off all the searches off of Highway 105. And it kind of sounded like they were going to search on an as needed basis or by tips or leads. That's what I
Yes.
took from it, that the El Paso County Sheriff's Office is done out there for the time being. And they actually, so when they were searching, you know, there was little evidence markers everywhere, little flags everywhere, and those have been replaced with blue ribbons for Gannon, which is super, you know, a super good idea. They've went out there and put blue ribbons all over out there.
It is. It is.
Yeah, it's beautiful. And we don't know why the crime lab was back at the house today.
Well, they were removing things from the house, but not large, not anything large and overly visible like before.
Okay.
So I don't know if they were in there taking small carpet fiber. Who knows what they were doing. But they were definitely there again today. And, you're always trying to put the pieces of the puzzle together. Did they find something out the other location? Are they trying to link it back to the house? I don't know.
Right.
And they're being very close-mouthed about, closed-mouthed. They're being very hush-hush about everything. And I think when you play the interview of Dog for everyone, he gives a really good explanation about what that means.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to actually pull that up right now. I shouldn't have taken a nap earlier, you guys, because now I'm like all...
You needed a nap, sister.
I missed so much in just those couple hours that I was, away from my phone. And
I told you I was driving all day. There was no way I could catch up. I never call you and say, fill me in.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm cheating doing that. I had to tonight because there's just no way. I couldn't scroll through the amount of stuff that was there.
Right.
I had no idea.
Right.
I was reacting to things, and then like 5 minutes later, another chat would happen. I'm like, oh, that was all wrong. Now I feel like a dummy.
Yeah.
So.
Aww. Okay, so I'll play Dog's interview. Is it really short? Is it only like 22 seconds long?
It's fair. I read the transcript, so it was short.
Okay. Okay, so let me pause it. All right, guys, I'm going to hold this up here and play it like this.
All right, I'm going to mute myself while you do that.
Okay.
Chapman, otherwise known as Dog the Bounty Hunter. Colorado native Dwayne Chapman.
Hold on, guys. I got to get it.
It's known as Dog the Bounty Hunter. Dog is.
Oh, it won't rewind. What in the world? Okay, we'll just go like.
Bounty Hunter. Dog has been.
This is what I'm going to do. Sorry, guys.
You're cool. Take your time.
Okay, here we go. Maybe.
You got it?
Mm-hmm.
All right. No, they're giving up love for True Helper in the chat, too.
Dog has spent 41 years on and off tracking down people who go missing.
Hi, Lufa.
It's known as Dog the Bounty Hunter. Dog has spent 41 years on and off tracking down people who go missing. He's been active on social media, sharing posts to help spread the word about Gannon. He says from his experience, the sheriff's office is not releasing a lot of information to the public for a reason.
A lot of things we don't need to know because they're either the government or the cops. If they really don't have any idea at all, cops will be like, listen, we need the public's help. Absolutely. But if they got a couple hints and they're just waiting on somebody to crack or evidence, right, then that's why they're saying it's under investigation.
To learn more about how he says the internet may be being used by investigators in this case and how detectives may be analyzing clues, just head to our website, fox21news.com.
So is there a longer interview?
Not really. There's some more information about social media, but it's just that statement. I mean, it's kind of like we all know that to be true, but to hear it from somebody else that sometimes works in tandem with finding missing people, I think it's important for all of us to hear that. I've seen a lot of people saying, why haven't the cops done this? Why haven't they done that? And they're not saying anything to us. And so he just kind of reiterates the fact that if they really were lost, they would be begging the public. They would be dangling stuff out there to get people.
Absolutely.
I think they have some hits and they are waiting to, like you said, waiting for someone to crack or some evidence to come back and see if it's enough to make an arrest.
Right. And Dog is local to Colorado.
Yes.
I haven't figured it out yet if he moved back from Hawaii after Beth died or if he is still in Hawaii, but he is, they were in Colorado for many years.
Right.
So he's pretty familiar, I would think, with how law enforcement
works there. Yes.
Yes. Yeah. And like J.A. said, he's best friends with Bobby Brown from Colorado too. So he has a lot of valuable insight because he is experienced in this kind of thing. He's experienced with how law enforcement works. He's experienced with like the actual law enforcement in the state of Colorado. So it makes a big difference.
Okay, Joe and a couple people say, yeah, he's been living back in Colorado. He has a second home there.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, it's always interesting when somebody has not insider knowledge, but real life experience with those law enforcement agencies specifically. It tends to, you know, not that anybody else that comments on it doesn't have credibility, but you know, he's been there and knows the people and knows how they work.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's always good to have a professional's opinion, and he seems to be very invested in, you know, supporting Gannon and his family. I've seen him tweet several times, him and Bobby Brown both. So that's a good thing. I'm going to try to read a couple comments. Yeah. Satin Bee, they absolutely have to keep information close to their vest. They have to, especially like, you know, Dwayne Chapman said, if they needed the public's help, they would ask for the public's help. But they're not really asking for that. They're just asking for if you have any tips or leads, you know, or you know something. So that kind of points to the fact that they feel like maybe there are people out there that know what happened to Gannon. Maybe a friend of whoever's involved in his disappearance or something, you know, or somebody who saw something and didn't realize what they were seeing. And yeah, anything like that.
Do you see Lufa's comment?
I do, Lufa. Lufa, could you elaborate? Did they give a friend's name on that?
J.A. Leland is in Alabama, right?
Yeah.
Is that correct?
Yeah.
That's what I'd heard.
Yeah, I was going to read off. I haven't heard that either, Marie. But if Lufa, if you could elaborate on that, that would be interesting.
Joe, I heard them saying at one of the conferences earlier that they put all of the tips on a spreadsheet and they all have to be cleared. So yes.
So I will
be very thorough.
I'll read today's update. I think this was the 4:40 p.m. media release from El Paso County Sheriff's Office. It says on February 21st, 2020, the Metro Crime Lab returned to Gannon's home as a part of our ongoing investigation into his disappearance. The investigation continues to progress with multiple agencies working to bring Gannon home. We have received 718 tips to date. These tips include possible sightings, search suggestions, social media related information, suspicious activity, found property possible evidence, and video photo drone evidence. Although search efforts in southern Douglas County have been suspended, this investigation is not slowing down. As previously stated, investigative leads direct search efforts, and we have teams available and ready to deploy should the need arise. We continue to get numerous tips and messages through our social media platforms. If you have any information you feel is pertinent to Gannon's case, please call the Sheriff's Office tip line at 719-520-6666 or email tips@elpasoco.com if you have not already done so. We know the community is anxious and awaiting answers. There is no public interest which outweighs maintaining the integrity of the investigation, and specific details will be released as the investigation allows. The PIO will be available for on-camera interviews from 5 to 5:30 p.m. today at the Sheriff's Office. So, hey, Audra, do you want
to?
Oh, go ahead.
No, I'm just Star Shooter's boy says, I had seen that what happened in Alaska was a sexual allegation with a commander by Tisha. Is this true? I'm curious where you heard that. Because we have a lot of questions about Alaska.
Yes, a lot.
And I didn't mean to interrupt you, Danielle. I'm
No,
sorry.
you're fine. You're fine. I'm just winging it tonight, guys. So it's kind of a
That's all you can do.
yeah.
But that is an interesting comment.
Lufa, let me drop my email address for you really quick. Oops.
Okay, Star Shooter's Boy, if you have a screenshot of where you saw that, are you, Danielle, maybe, yeah.
Are you in the Facebook group, Star Shooters Boy? It's so much easier for me to contact you guys through like Facebook Messenger. But if you're not in the Facebook group, you're more than welcome to email it to that email address down there. And then I'll drop the Facebook group link again.
It was in our group that it was posted. I've been unplugged all day long. I've been driving all day long, so I'm
Thank you, Luca. Okay, so you know who I am in the group, right? Star Shooters Boy. Can you just send me that screenshot that you're talking about? Yeah, send it to me on Facebook. That would be great. So much easier for me to work or to contact people on Facebook. But I understand if people want to email too. I totally get it. Totally get it.
So I'm sure you all have heard the buzz about Tisha claiming that Jose Baez was going to represent her.
Mm-hmm.
His official response on Twitter, that is not true.
Right. That is not true.
I just wonder if he's, in the back of my head, I wonder if he's considering it.
Oh, gosh.
I don't know.
Another thing I wanted to clarify, we've seen this a couple times. I think many of us have seen this. There's people asking questions about why there wasn't an Amber Alert.
Oh gosh, yes.
Because there was a red truck identified. Well, the problem is, you guys, is that yes, Star Shooters, it's actually RENEA. But the problem is that yes, Gannon was last seen in a red pickup truck. However, that red pickup truck belonged to his father and was being driven by his stepmother. So the truck is accounted for and his stepmother is accounted for. That doesn't meet Amber Alert criteria.
Right. I think what's happening, I've seen that a lot in the past, the past 72 hours, people are posting stuff like that. I think there's people coming in late to the case, and when you screenshot things and it says 1 hour ago, they're thinking that they're recent.
Right.
And they're really from back on the 29th.
Right.
Or what was it? What date did the video come out? February 2nd or February 4th, I believe.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I think there's just some people that are behind, and then when they say things like that, it confuses other people and it angers other people, and it's just kind of been a thing lately.
Yeah, it's very frustrating. Very frustrating. And again, like I talked about this the other night, people at this point, we're on the end of day 25, right? And everybody's desperate. Everybody wants answers for Gannon. And I think sometimes because everybody wants answers, they just grasp at everything that they can. And it makes sense. That's the normal human reaction in us. That's our compassion. And, we want to be helpful in finding him. We want to be productive in finding information and asking questions. So, I mean, I totally understand why people ask some of the things that they do or suggest some of the things that they do, especially those who are newer to the case. That seems to be an occurrence that happens, because a lot of the times when these cases that we cover start, not a lot of people are aware of them. and then they become aware of them within like a month if they're not solved. I had the aunt of my boys actually comment on my profile picture today, and my profile picture is prayers for Gannon, and she said, did something happen to this little boy? And I said, he's been missing for 25 days. You know, she didn't know who Gannon was or why there was prayers needed or anything like that. So
yeah, it's very difficult. And I think when it, for there's like this second wave of people that come in when it becomes national news. And I mean, it's been national news for a while, but now it's starting to be mentioned on a regular basis. And now when you have people like Dog the Bounty Hunter getting involved and some of these other agencies or whatever, you get this new wave of people that don't know everything that we've been following in real time.
Right.
And so it becomes confusing. Yes.
It absolutely becomes confusing, and that's understandable, you know.
Sure. And like I said, some of the screenshots can be misleading. You know, they say like up at the top, like 1 hour ago. And if you don't have a date on there, you think, oh my gosh.
Right. I actually said this earlier to all the admins, but once Gannon's case is solved, and there will be resolution, there will be, I plan to address some of the ridiculous stuff that has been sent to me, because that's some of the things that upset me. And it's nobody in this chat or anything like that, just random stuff. And some of it is very concerning, the lengths that people will go just to feel relevant. So
yeah,
there definitely needs to be an awareness about that, because if they're sending it to me, you can assume that they're sending it to the police. And like the law enforcement has said in the past, like, don't waste our time with things that aren't actual tips. If that makes sense. So
some way out theories. I was telling Danielle, I won't name it, and actually I don't even know it off the top of my head, but I was listening to a podcast today about this that had a lot of misinformation, and it was recent, and it's unfortunate because now there's a segment of people that are taking this like fact, and you know, it's with anything, not just YouTube or podcasts, but even with the news agencies, you have to do your own fact checking sometimes. And there's a lot of confusion out there. I see people asking about, well, is the rental car real? You know, there was another one I heard.
And see, the rental car has never been confirmed. I can tell you where I think that spawned from. It's because a car was seized from the airport. And I think people thought because there was a car at the airport that it was a rental car.
Right. Or that Tisha's Tiguan was a lease.
Yes.
And they were reclaiming it on behalf of the lease. Like the warrant was for the leasing company and not Tisha.
Right.
Maybe. I don't know.
Well, yeah, I definitely think the warrant would go probably. Well, I don't know, because I've leased a car before and the title was in my name. Not the title, but the registration was in my name. So,
but if they were going to take it, they would take it on behalf of the finance. I don't know. I remember you explained this to me because I asked you this early on when I thought it was simply a rental car.
There was a car seized at the airport that was released very early on. If you're in our Facebook group, I'm sure that I know it's in there. It's in there somewhere. And we have everything categorized by topic in there. So, you know, there's the Petco story, and then everything related to Tisha is in one topic, and every update from law enforcement is in one topic. So it's fairly easy to find stuff in there, thankfully, because it keeps a smooth flow, you know, for people to be able to find the factual information. And that was one of the things that was released early on, is that a car was seized from the airport. Des, we can only assume it is one of the Stauch's cars. It would have to either be Tisha's lease or it would have to be her daughter's VW. So
It's one or the other because they have the red truck, right?
yes, they have the red truck, and yeah, it's one or the other that they seized. And the other car that was seized was actually they've seized all their vehicles. We know the red truck is in
Custody.
Law enforcement has the red truck. And then when Tisha and her daughter were shopping, there was a vehicle seized from the Marshall's parking lot where they were shopping at. So that would either have to be her daughter's car or T's SUV. And it's vice versa. It's the same for the airport. That would either be T's SUV or her daughter's car. I had heard that Tisha was working at the airport. Hey, True Helper. I cannot verify that as fact, but it would make sense as to why a vehicle would be seized from the airport.
Yes.
If she was working there, they would have went there. They would have went there and seized it. And it wasn't so. If you guys pay attention, if you pay attention to the actual surveillance footage of when Tisha leaves with Gannon and comes back, her SUV is in the driveway. So the car that was at the parking or at the airport wasn't one of their vehicles that Albert had left there. Because when Tisha left with Gannon that day, Albert was still in Oklahoma and their family vehicles were accounted for. You can see them in the surveillance footage. When she backs out, her SUV is in the driveway. And then we know that Harley has her own car. And there's 3 vehicles owned by the family. There's the Nissan red truck that we've all seen. There's T's SUV that is a lease. And then there's Harley's VW. I don't remember it is. It's a white VW car.
It's a Jetta.
It's a Jetta.
Yeah.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So it had to be
the Jetta. By process of elimination, it would have to be the Jetta, right?
I don't know. Marie's saying it was a rental she left.
Well, I mean, that
it could be. I don't know.
It could be.
Do you know that, Marie? Do you know that for a fact, or can you verify that is a fact? Hey, Nana.
Yeah, Tambra M. I think they were keeping an eye on her when the vehicle was seized at Marshall's. I mean, obviously, otherwise, how would they have found her there? They knew she was no longer in the family home. And
that's what I'm trying to figure out, Tisha. I'm not sure. Marie, you said that it was a rental that T had left at the airport. And I asked if you could verify that as a fact. Because as far as I've known, that's only what has been speculated. It's never been released by law enforcement. Yeah, it does. It's very odd.
Everything about things surrounding Tisha are odd. This whole thing is odd. Yes.
Yes, it is. Aw. I'm glad you're here, True Helper. I do know that Tisha's okay, so you don't know it to be 100% Marie. Thank you. Tisha's Facebook has once again been deactivated.
She won't
And
stay quiet very long unless she really has retained an attorney. I can't see her staying quiet. She cannot stay quiet. She can't. And now it's hard to tell too. You see things online on whether or not they're manufactured, like somebody's, making it look like Tisha's texting. You can't. It's hard to tell anymore. I've
right.
seen some weird things over the past couple days. You've been swamped. No pun intended.
It's okay, true helper. No problem. No problem. Yeah, Tisha has been quiet for 24 hours straight now.
Yeah. It's yeah.
Okay, so the group that you're in, I'm not sure how to say your name. Is it Zeratia? I'm just guessing. Sorry. Let me find it. It said it was Al's truck at the airport. Tisha went and got it from the airport, left with Gannon, went home, then took the truck back to the airport. And that's what Al saw in the video that made him say she lied.
Oh.
Oh.
That could make sense.
That would make sense, actually.
Mm-hmm.
That would make a lot of sense.
So he left the truck at the airport when he left for Oklahoma. Yeah, we've talked about that a lot. Like, did he drive himself to the airport? Did she drive him? But yes, that would make a lot of sense. Yeah.
Oh, I said it right. Good. Good. I don't know what to think either anymore, Nana. I'm hoping and praying as well. It's stressful, it's very stressful because I hear Landon's pleas and they're heartbreaking, and she wants us to keep Gannon's name out there, and I will 100% do that for her. Where I'm coming from, it's hard for me to get on here and talk because there's so little known that is factually true. I have a lot of speculation I could throw out there, but that's just not what I do here. And I don't want to start any false rumors or anything like that. So,
well, and I mean, we do behind the scenes sit there and speculate a lot, but
right.
We have people very close to the case in this chat and following in the group, and they want Gannon and they'll hold on to anything, and it's just kind of not fair to do that right now because it is just speculation.
Right, absolutely.
We don't want to do that to anybody. True helper, flattery will get you everywhere. You're a charmer.
So glad you're on here tonight. If you want to come on and chat, you're more than welcome. Just let me know. Hi, Danette. You think we'll know something tomorrow, Sally? I hope so. I hope we have some answers tomorrow. But most of all, I can see it in Landon's face and hear it in her voice that she's just really, really, really struggling right now, which is understandable. And my heart breaks for her.
Right.
It really does.
And she doesn't know much more, I believe, than we do.
No, she doesn't. She doesn't.
That's terrible. It's I mean, not terrible. Like, I mean, it's terrible for her, not like law enforcement terrible.
Right.
It's just, it's hard to watch her. And we have to remember that we get upset, we struggle, and we get frustrated, and we stay up at night because we don't know things. And she's his mother.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
absolutely.
She does need him home. We all need him home.
They did change the search location a little bit this week, which was interesting. They So we all figured out where they were searching last week and throughout earlier this week until yesterday, I think it was. And they moved that search location a mile away. And it looks like, I guess if that's going north, the first search location that we all saw them searching at for like a week was south of that command center that they had set up. And the most recent search location that they were at yesterday is north of that command center, about a mile north. So that was interesting. Mostly because we saw everybody out there for so long, like a week or something like that. And okay, I'll drop you a link, True Helper. We saw everybody out there for a week. And then all of a sudden, yesterday it was, I believe, that they had moved the search and they were in this different area.
Right.
So that was interesting.
It was.
Yeah.
It was.
Because it just, I guess for me, it validated like, okay, they're really looking for something in that area.
Mm-hmm.
You know, to then move a mile up the road and search somewhere else.
Right. And
All
to
right.
be sifting through snow.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I mean, going through really, I hate to keep bringing this up because I know it happened in other cases, but it's the one that I was closest to logistically, and I followed one of the first ones I really, really followed that had a lot of social media and things like that. I remember the Casey Anthony case with the sand sifters. I mean, just
Right.
gridded off and the buckets that corresponded to the grid. And yeah, I mean, you're really looking for something when you're doing that.
Right. Right. Oh yeah, I'd love to hear what True Helper thought of Julie Rowe.
Did you guys watch
I
it?
warned him. Remember, you guys? I warned him, and I gave him the other YouTube channel to go get a good feel of what Julie Rowe is all about before he watched her on Zab Girl.
Zab Girl did a really good job. Did you watch it, Danielle?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. when Julie kept blaming the problems on demons. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh boy. Oh boy.
I felt like I was watching like I'm old, but they used to on like Friday nights, like Elvira would have this thing on TBS. It was like USA Up All Night or something, and like the lights would blink and stuff.
Oh my gosh.
Reminded me of.
Oh, Irish, you forgot about it. Oh boy. Well, to give you something to watch tonight or this weekend. Yes, Hybrid, I did warn him. Totally warned him, Tisha Renee, yes. Oh, he said, yes, you did. I'll explain here soon. Give me just a few minutes. I'm laughing my butt off at the moment. Yeah, it's...
I love Zap Girl's facial expression. It was like, I'm trying to make my face normal, but my eyes are rolling back.
I really don't think I could have Julie Rowe on my channel and not laugh, you guys. I'm sorry. I would have to mute my mic.
I would be scared to have her that close to me.
Right.
It's funny. Oh, Raquel, you're sweet.
Oh, I'm with you, Sharma Lily. Totally with you. Where is this little guy? I'm starting to get angry. I cycle through so many emotions. This is ridiculous. The stepmom left with him and came back without him, but she knows nothing. She knows something. She does, because even at this point, law enforcement has said that they do not dispute what the neighbor saw on his surveillance footage. So by saying that, they're saying, you know, we don't dispute that the footage shows her leaving and coming back without him. So,
And they've said, I think there's been a misunderstanding of the public too. They've said from the beginning that even though they wouldn't talk about the video, that what were the words, Danielle? It was like, it's a small piece to a large puzzle. We're trying, but an important piece.
right.
Mm-hmm. So, just the fact that they won't discuss it has nothing to do with whether they deem it important.
Right. Trina, I just dropped the Facebook group link again. Trying to see, I had asked if
Lufa, she has an answer for everything, and I find that very curious.
I find that very alarming because you guys, as a real person, I don't have an answer for every single thing I did yesterday. I literally, yeah. No. Who keeps, it's just crazy. It's crazy to me. It's very, oh, you were being sarcastic. Gotcha. It's very alarming. Very alarming to me. That's just my perspective. Looking at it like, okay, so, I'm a mom. I have kids. I have a busy life. And when you, thank you. I will check my Facebook messages. When you have a lot going on, you know this, Amy, you guys, I couldn't tell you what I did probably at 9:00 this morning on most days.
No.
Besides, I was sitting at work,
Me either. Sometimes I can't remember if I ate that day.
Yes.
Like, I'm going back through my head, like, I'm really hungry. Oh, did I eat? I don't know. I can't remember. Was that yesterday? I don't know. Because I'm like running all over the place and trying to do a million things. Yeah, I would be in trouble if I was questioned about my day. I'm being honest. I can't tell you what I wore yesterday.
Right. Absolutely. That's the same thing for me. I'm very scatterbrained as it is, let alone to remember.
Well, and when you have a lot of things going on, and especially when you're dealing with kids, not everything goes according to schedule. You have a plan for the day, but then when you put in these other people and variables, and I was like, oh, I need a protractor at 9:00 at night. Like,
right.
You're like, no. And it throws off everything. It absolutely, you can't. It's like I was telling you today, we were supposed to have company coming to stay tonight. It was last minute. I didn't know. I was trying to run around, get things ready, and they called and said they were coming. I can't tell you because I never got everything done. I'm gonna have to do it in the morning. I can't even tell you where I'm at with that. I'm gonna have to go up and like take a little look around because I lost my mojo. I said, that's not important right now. It's not happening. And I moved on to other things. So,
yeah, Lila, we discussed Albert's dad on here. Gosh, probably 2 or 3 weeks ago. And it was something I didn't really want to discuss, but I did share for anybody who's new to the case or doesn't know that has been discussed. And yes, Albert's dad is a registered sex offender. He got in some big trouble. He did some things, but I didn't really want to share that because I didn't feel it was relevant to Gannon's disappearance. But at the same time, it is relevant to the people involved in this, in Gannon's life, Gannon's father. That's a trauma that Gannon's father had to deal with in his life, was his father being involved in something like that. So
yeah, family history is always important, but
Morgan, that EVP session made me very sad. I try not to talk about that on here because I know that there's family down in the comments, but it gave me chills. It gave me chills. Yeah.
Does anybody know who gave that customized Sonic plushie to Gannon with Gannon's voice to Landon? I don't know. I didn't know if that was something she had already had or somebody. I don't know the story behind that. I'm glad she has it, though.
Right.
I think it's keeping her as sane as she can possibly be.
Yeah.
I worry about her. I see her deteriorating.
I know. It's very sad.
It's hard. She's not the same woman we saw on day. What was it? Was it day 2 or day 3?
Yeah, Lila. But that stuff about Albert's dad. Okay, that's not really relevant to Gannon's disappearance. For the simple fact that when Gannon disappeared, his grandfather was 2,000 miles away, and Gannon's father was in Oklahoma. So it still boils down to the fact that Gannon was in the sole care of Tisha Stauch.
Mm-hmm.
That's the bottom line. He went missing on her watch, and there was nobody around but her.
Well, the only 2 caregivers that we can definitively say, because we don't have any other information, so the only 2 caregivers we can would be her and Harley, because
Right.
Harley watched him too. So
Or are you saying Gannon has never even seen his grandfather? That's what we figured. I don't think
no.
that it plays a role in Gannon's disappearance whatsoever. Does it play a role in, how it affected Albert's life? Absolutely, but that's somewhere that's something for a different discussion. We have to wait and see how this case plays out. That could play a role in why Albert ended up with somebody like Tisha. We don't know,
Right.
So
If Albert had been home, that would be more important.
right.
But because he was not there, because he was in, basically, for lack of a better word, custody of the military at a training in Oklahoma, it's an interesting perspective into the family dynamics, but not to Gannon's disappearance.
Right. I agree with you, Jeanette. I agree with you. If you would pull up all of our families, we are all in trouble. Some of us have never even seen those people in our families.
Right.
I agree. I mean, everybody has people in their family that's done something. So I personally have a huge extended family. I don't see or talk to many of them. It's just at the end of the day, we're all people.
Right.
We're all people, and we're not perfect people. Nobody's perfect. I'm not making excuses for anybody, but we can't, you can't hold something over Albert's head for what his dad did.
Well, we don't even know if Albert had a relationship with his father, do we?
Right. Yeah, no, we don't.
I mean,
we don't. I would imagine that he didn't, because that happened, I want to say, when Albert was a child.
It was like 92, right?
Right. So he would have been, I mean, that was 28 years ago, and Albert's 30, he's in his late 30s. So he was a kid.
Right.
I'm with you, Jeanette. I care about the last person that was with the child.
Me too.
What did you hear, Casey? Yeah, nobody's perfect. We've all.
And we're not responsible for the sins of our,
our family,
ancestors,
right?
Or family.
So Marie's saying Albert was little, around 7 or 8. Yeah, he was a little boy.
That makes sense.
That you have a great point, Soul for Music. You cannot judge a person based on their history, except T. No, I'm kidding.
Be good. Oh, Casey, me too. Think about it. There was audio from that video that T recorded and posted online. apps pull from online. Think of when you talk about things and all of a
Oh.
sudden your phone searches it. Does that make sense?
I know what you're talking about the EVP. Yeah, I get it. I totally get it. Yeah, that makes total sense.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you're all good, Lila. I just wanted to kind of go, into a little bit of explanation on that. Okay, I'm checking my messages right now.
Oops. Uh-oh.
It's probably going to be...
You guys are so kind and considerate to each other, and
Yes,
Lila,
thank
even your last comment. Danielle really appreciates that, and thank you.
What comment did I miss? I'm sorry.
No, Lila just said, I would not have said it in chat without floating it through you first. I don't want to hurt family members.
Aw,
And
thank you.
yeah, that's very kind of you.
Yes.
And you all are like that, and it's just so nice. It makes it easier to discuss things and to talk, knowing that we have those kind of unspoken rules and you guys have empathy.
Whoa, who is doing this, Trina? Who set this up? Is this just somebody random? Like, is it legitimate? In certain instances, Aggie, yes, you can judge someone based on their history. Yeah. But in general, I mean, so let's say back in my 20s, I made different choices than what I make now. Does that make sense? Because most people, you have to give most people the benefit of the doubt that they evolve and they grow and they mature and all of that stuff. So, I mean, can you judge a rapist based on their history? Absolutely.
Yes.
Can
child
you judge
molesters?
Yes, a child molester? Absolutely.
Yes.
A murderer, anything like that. Can you judge somebody who did something stupid at 21, 20 years later? Like, I don't know.
Well, a lot of things.
I mean, what would be an example of something somebody does at 21 that's stupid?
They get a bunch of speeding tickets and they don't pay them and they get their license suspended and they
Right.
get arrested because they're driving with a suspended license.
Right.
Yeah.
So can you judge
because
them?
it's immaturity,
Right.
irresponsibility.
Right. You can't judge them for that when they're 40.
Unless they've continued that throughout their life.
Absolutely. Then it becomes a pattern. Then there's a problem.
Right. But if the cement, the garage door comes down on that era of their life and then there's nothing else, a lot of times, I mean, I don't know exactly. I'm going to speak in generalities. They say that your adult brain and your decision-making skills and things like that aren't really formed until you're really like 25, I think is what they say. And so when you're looking at stuff that people did during that time, it's and unless they continued it as a pattern. But if it ends there, you can kind of
I'm with you, Soul for Music. You can't judge the child of a rapist or a child molester. Absolutely. You can't judge Albert for what his father did. I think the point I was trying to make is that Albert's father's actions would have significantly impacted Albert's life. I hope that makes sense. His father was put in prison for what he did. Right. So he had an absent father. So, you have to look at the different psychological aspects of that.
And there's shame in that.
Yeah. Yeah. And
not even the crime, just the shame in your father going to prison. And then, yes, you're right, having an absentee parent.
Right. That in no means that Albert is being judged for that. If anything, I have sympathy for him for that.
Of course.
I feel bad for him that he went through that in his life. But back to what you were saying about, the maturity level of a person's brain. Did you say it was the age of 25?
Yes, and Soul for Music said, yes, that was right. But I don't,
Yeah. Yeah,
I had heard it was 25.
I had also, they say that every 5 years, your brain continues to develop and to mature. And every 5 years, if you look back at how you handled things 5 years ago versus how you handle things now, they're completely different because your brain continues to evolve and
With your
react.
life experiences.
Yes, with your life experiences, and
That
you
makes
tend to
sense.
react differently to things. For example, this is just me. 5 years ago, had somebody sent me a text message that pissed me off, I would text them back and be like, 100 miles a minute texting. Today my response is, okay, I have
a good night.
Yeah, have a good night. I told somebody the other night on YouTube, good night. I mean, I don't, you change your reactions to things.
That's true. That's true. And everything in your life, you make different decisions. Yeah.
Right.
So now my brain's changing every 5 years. All my taste buds are changing every 7. Ugh.
Yeah. Everything's different. So
the judgment part of the brain is not formed until the age of 25. A lot of us have made poor decisions before 25. If I look back, I see it big time now. Then couldn't have cared less. Same here. Same here.
Absolutely.
Iris, you're a beautiful person every day. I'm telling you. Iris is one grounded person, you guys.
She is. She is an amazing person. I love Iris.
She is. She's like a woman of wisdom.
She is. And she knows just the right things to say. I was having a terrible day yesterday, and she
must be the best mom.
I'm sure. Yes. Yes. Raquel, your favorite is...
I'm sorry you feel that way.
Yeah, I'm sorry you feel that way. I was telling Amy earlier that I got a text from my ex-husband earlier, and I didn't reply, but what I wanted to say was priceless. I just didn't say it because I'm like, that'll just start a fight. It's not going to do anything, but just,
My favorite is...
My new thing is saying this going to get me anywhere? And when the answer is no, I just don't say it.
That's a good rule. I tend to say sorry about your luck. Because it just...
Yes.
It just works.
We love you too, Irish. Guess who's here, guys? Guess who's here?
Hey, it isn't so.
True Helper's here. Let's bring him on. I've heard that about Mike too as well, Anne.
What did Anne say about Mike? Oh, okay. Just saw it.
Hello there, True Helper.
Hi.
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 Sorry, I was still laughing about the Julie Rowe thing.
Oh boy.
Oh.
She's a treat. I told you. I told you.
The eyes and the ears.
Yes.
Yes, you warned me.
Yeah, it's
I gotta agree with Amy. Zav girl handled it with style. Tiff really rolled with the punches, but as I rewatched it, I was pausing it in certain sections, and the faces were meme priceless.
There was a time where Zav girl had her mouth open and her eyes were over to the side. Like, what have I done?
Well,
how do I react?
After I was on that live with y'all, you told me to go check out that channel, Eyes Open. And I did. But at the same time, I was texting with Tiff, and I told her, you have to watch this. You have to watch this. But
yes, she
told me she was already talking to her, and even sounded a little disappointed at first. She texted me. She thought that I would like her or something like that. And I told her, and I was honest, I'm open and kind with just about anybody I don't know. I don't just because I disagree with you doesn't mean I'm going to hate somebody. But the more that I listened, I was between fascinated, but at the same time, once I remembered this is real, like this is reality, and she is talking her truth to power, and I was just amazed. I've
It's
seen a lot.
fascinating and it's
Disturbing.
disturbing and repulsing at the same time because you're like,
Yes.
I don't know how many times I've watched Julie Rowe because we invested the RMT team. We invested a lot of time and a lot of research into the Vallow case. We actually just shut our group down completely 2 days ago. And
Why was that?
because people don't like to hear the truth, and it just got to be too overwhelming, the bickering back and forth between the religion stuff.
Yeah.
And I could go on and on about it, but the proven fact is that Tammy and Chad began in their faith, and some of the things that they are doing follows the scriptures of their faith.
Right.
So, that's a whole nother topic. And
Right.
people, the people of that faith that don't want to hear it. And I totally understand because they think that it's a complete diss to them when it's not. They're not responsible for Lori and Chad's actions.
Oh yeah, it's almost blasphemy, no doubt.
Right. Right. They're not responsible for what Lori and Chad did. But at the same time, you do have to question why these types of things are being taught. It's a very, very deep thing to look into when you look into it.
Well,
but
I mean, at least we had good news, and she was arrested this morning. So
thank you, God. Yes.
Cool.
Yes.
I actually did a quick little happy dance, so I was yes.
Yeah. We all saw it come through last night, and thank you. I'm so glad that they got her. She's actually getting I think she's facing 14 years for each child. And when you read the probable cause affidavit, oh my gosh, it's horrible.
Yeah. Yep.
It's
well, I give them a lot of credit because they obviously took a lot of time and they combed through all of the law books and made sure that they came correct with the charges. And boy, did they, because a lot of times when a set of parents or any parent hasn't produced a child after a court order like that, it's really hearsay at that point as to where they are when they don't have any, solid proof about even their existence at that point. So for them to nail them with those, or to nail her with those charges, that was just beautiful. And I only got the chance to read half of the affidavit, but holy crap.
Yeah, it's very, very alarming.
Yeah,
they also
had a $5 million bond.
Yes.
Yeah. They tried to get reduced to 10,000. 10,000.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes, you would.
Yeah.
Yes, you would.
I give them a lot of credit too for coordinating with the courts in Hawaii, because that prosecutor there is the one that said no. This is why the bail needs to stay at this, because of these reasons, because of the egregious charges they're facing, blah blah blah. A lot of times during extradition that doesn't happen. Another court could just and even though she doesn't have a passport, she obviously has a financial network. So
absolutely.
Being able to leave off of Hawaiian Island on a $10,000 bond would be fairly easy.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, $10,000 bond. I mean, what are you talking? 10%? You're talking $1,000 to get out of jail. I mean,
right. She's got that in her baggie.
Exactly. And where is all that money?
Her baggie, that cracks me up.
The little magic pouch.
She just carries around a Ziploc baggie, but her hair is flawless and her makeup's perfect, and that cracks me up. I think it's funny.
And I'm sorry, I saw that High Sulfur Music. I didn't. I was sitting there reading the screen, and I keep looking away. I'm trying to dig through some paperwork at the same time, so apologize for the following comments.
So, did you see the recent stuff in Gannon's case the last couple days?
Yeah, yes, and it's quite disappointing in many ways. But you know what? At this point, I have to be a realist about it. And with it going on as long as it has, I mean, at this point, it's really just about retracing her steps and her routes that she took, and doing what we can to just go over any possible route she may have took, and just think as a criminal would. Really, I mean, that's the only way to truly exclude her off of the list, is by doing so. But the area is so vast, and the topography is so, it's very difficult with all the snow. It's hard. It's so very hard. If there was ever a time of the year, this is just the worst. It really is, all around. It's an investigator's nightmare. It's any search party's nightmare. And unfortunately, my heart goes out to the family, and I'm still praying for Gannon. But at this point, with an 11-year-old boy like that, there's only one of two options. And one is somebody has him, because otherwise I really don't even want to say the alternative. I still want to keep hope up. I really do. But it's just very disheartening. And the weather obviously isn't working for anybody right now, and just keeps going on and on and on.
What do you think about, they were searching in one location, and then they changed that search location yesterday. I'll try to get the picture pulled up for us to look at here, but I might be able to do it like this. So the search location that they focused on like the last week or so was south of their main command center. And then the search location that they were focused on yesterday, and they were only there yesterday to our knowledge, is about a mile north of the command center. So what do you think about that? Because I looked at it and I thought, it's still the same area. So I feel like there has to be a significant reason why they're out there.
Without a doubt, at this point, it's definitely a tip that they had received. And it probably, the reason why they're so dedicated on that area is because maybe her route options that she took that day also coincide with said tip. Or, I mean, again, just my speculating here, but I mean, they, again, as we've said 1,000 times before, they would not waste the manpower, the resources, and the time being in that region if, they knew there was just no chance of finding anything. So right. I'm swearing by the fact that it had to be a tip coupled with some other data that they have. And they're definitely crossing T's and dotting I's, which I give them all the credit in the world for. Yeah.
Right.
Definitely difficult. Definitely, with all the snow and the freezing cold and just the miserable conditions. And then you've got everybody and then some trying to work their way into that area, which basically it's for authorized personnel only at this point. So you have so many, you're really trying to help and wanting to help. I've also heard reports that I haven't really even seen on the news, but I've also heard reports where they've literally had to down certain drones and things of that nature as well. And they've caught people trying to do flyovers and everything else. And I guess they're on a total shutdown type of mindset. So they really don't want any interference of any kind. And again, I can't really blame them because God forbid they get into a vital area and possibly contaminated area with in many different ways. But that's just, my heart goes out to them. And all we can do is keep encouraging them. And as many have said, and you just said earlier, just keep his name at the top of everybody's list. Just keep it online. Keep speaking about it and keep going over it. And I know the more and more we speak of it, the less subject matter there is. We kind of repeat points and facts and other investigative details that we've all learned to date. But there's no better way to make sure that everybody stays on top of it than doing so.
Right.
It's very difficult right now. And I can only imagine what some of the higher ups within their investigative units are going through. Yeah, I know most of them being parents themselves, they have that burning need, that desire to want to find him and just get this done. And and at least if nothing else, offer some kind of answers to Gannon's family. And just right now, they keep coming up with nothing, and at no fault of their own, of course. They're trying everything in their power. But I heard as of today, they called off, the search in that one area. And to the best of my knowledge, I don't know. I can see them going back at it for a while, but really at a certain point, they will start pulling back their resources, because at this point in time, again, usually within the first 4 to 24 hours of any missing persons case, those are the vital hours. And here we are, many weeks into it.
Day 25. Yep. About to be day 26.
Yeah, it's horrible. I put a question up there for you, True Helper. Somebody, Heath, wants to know what your thoughts are on Higginson's pit. And then somebody else down here said, Des Harris said that she wished that they would search that area. Have you looked into that area at all? Are you familiar with it?
I have, obviously speaking about Douglas County. From what I understand, there are some mines out there and some other natural features, and the topography, as far as geographically speaking, is just I don't really want to say too much, because one of my associates is actually working on that angle right now, and I don't want to step on his toes any. But it is an interesting area. I'll say that. So again, the best thing that we can do is just keep on mapping out and almost just like they were doing before, gridding off areas and just combing over each and every area as best as possible, and then moving on to the next. But yes, to answer your question about my thoughts on it, it's a very interesting area. So, and to let it be known, we're going to leave no stone unturned. And
right,
in fact, as this starts, as the days move forward, we're trying to get as much or as many other things as I can in my personal life done with, because I do plan to go out to that area myself. We've been gearing up to do so, and 2 of our guys are already headed out that way. So,
well, that's amazing news. That's amazing news, and thank you for sharing what you can. We appreciate it. One of the things, this goes back to something early on that popped on Fridays. I drive like 7 hours, and so I spend a lot of time in my car where there's like no cell service or anything at Florida swamps. And I was thinking about the doctor's appointment. The reason that she kept Gannon home on Monday, she said he had a doctor's appointment, and I kept thinking, except for the video, they went hiking on Sunday. He wasn't sick, all that stuff. And I'm wondering if it wasn't like it never occurred to me before that maybe it was a pre-scheduled doctor's appointment, and there was a reason why she couldn't take him. There was a reason why she couldn't take him. And so the way she resolved that is she called the doctor's office and told them that she'd gotten help for him through a nurse's line. Is what the last story I'd heard. And so it makes me wonder what his physical condition was that Monday morning. Well,
that kind of makes a bit of sense to me, or the conclusion I would draw from that is, if she told the doctor's office that she already got help, or she got help from a nurse's line, that means that obviously something was physically wrong with Gannon. So maybe it concerned the cut that he had or something, or maybe he was becoming ill. Could be a multitude of things. I mean, only she would know, right? But by her saying
or that she was taking him to, she couldn't have him at school or a doctor because they're both mandatory reporters. That was the other thing.
Yeah, she is a mandated reporter because she's a teacher.
Right. And she would know better too. She knows all that.
Right.
Anybody
she knows all
that works for the Board of Education for more than a week knows that.
So they had a very traumatic Sunday night, and then she can't have him in school or in a doctor's office because anybody in those offices would be mandatory reporters.
And And from seeing as many different cases as I have and actually working or being involved in more than my fair share, I can say that it definitely looks very, very bad when it's just spoken. Even if somebody just wrote all the information down and you're just reading it for the first time, all of a sudden these things happen the night before, and then suddenly, he's vanished, and it just doesn't.
Right.
Too many things that just don't add up, and she knows that, and that's why she, as we were watching the video together, the last live, it just makes sense that she's making all of these excuses in the way that she's reacting, and her body language, and her posturing, and then going after the police and all these other things. And again, I'm not that guy that's going to sit here and place blame upon her and, oh my God, she did it and this, that, and the third. But I mean, let's face facts here. She really, really does not look good. And I wish if she did have further details, no matter what it was, that she would just simply release it already. And just come forward. If it was a case of neglect or, God forbid, something happened. I mean, just bring it out. But obviously, she's sticking by her guns, and she's saying that nothing happened. But you just don't have an 11-year-old boy who all of a sudden goes missing without a trace. And then again, leading back to the initial police reports, first it's, what was a missing person, then it was an endangered or runaway, then it was an endangered missing person. I mean, come on.
Well, and this is another question I need to go back and ask. It was another thing I was thinking today. Do they have a back fence? Like, is their yard completely fenced, Danielle?
Yes. To my knowledge, it is. Yes.
Okay. So she says he went out the back door, right? But then she makes a big deal about the side gate and Gannon holding the key. And it doesn't, I don't know. Like, when I'm alone, I spend a lot of time thinking about this. But when I'm alone and it's quiet, I start reviewing all these things in my head, and I'm thinking, why would a child go out a back door and open up a gate that has to be now? I mean, maybe it unlocks from the inside without a key, but generally speaking, if you actually have to use a key, that's not the case.
Well, this is actually going to sound a little odd coming from me, but in a way, in her defense, I can say one thing about him having a military type of parent. With his dad being away, I can very easily see his dad, again, obviously Army man himself, telling him he's the man of the house and all of those types of things. So increasing his bravery and making him feel, important and responsible. And, that's the way we should do with all of our children. That's just, it's good parenting. But he very well may have acted that way. Sure. I mean, I have no doubts. But again, the only thing that leaves me a little cautious and wondering of that whole story is just the way that she explained it. It was so articulate and so to the letter. And versus, I mean, I couldn't imagine if one of my boys went MIA, I would be losing my mind. And even if I was on a follow-up interview, I couldn't imagine just sitting there saying, well, yes, and then he did that, and then he did this, and then he didn't know I'd be. Call out the troops. I want everybody. I want the CIA. I want everybody possibly grab. We're going to find him. Yeah, but hey, it's just cool, calm, collected. Well, and then he walked around to the gate to check the lock. And okay, I get it, but I don't know. It just all of it. I guess when you're considering everything, you're considering all of the points and details in this case as a whole. I guess that's why it makes me feel the way that I do. So the moment I start thinking of it in a positive way, and even in a way almost, I guess, in defense of her and, backing up some of the T's comments, then there's all the other evidence that just shoots it down. So in one respect, you kind of want to have faith in one angle, but then all the other angles shoot that down. And that's, I think, the saddest part about it all. like they say, shoulda, woulda, coulda, and if she could turn back the hands of time, I'm sure she would have known to keep her mouth shut and just. But then again, I mean, we wouldn't be where we are today, and at least I'm sure hardly half the people that are involved today wouldn't be if she hadn't acted the way that she did. She definitely interested a lot of people as to what she was up to or what possibly happened based on all of her interviews and everything that she has said.
Definitely.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Oh, you're fine. Go ahead.
When you were speaking about judging people earlier, Amy, you were correct about that. The human brain doesn't fully develop until the age of 25, and that's why a lot of crimes that are committed by people under the age of 25, in most cases by a seasoned judge, usually they'll be a bit more lenient. And everybody does stupid things when we're young, and people might have DUIs and speeding tickets and all that kind of jazz, but obviously the older we get, the more mature we become. So on that note, with Gannon's dad being in the military and all that, obviously he's taken his life to the next level. So I know that there's been a lot of speculation and about a lot of rumors put out, but I can say beyond a reasonable doubt, and when you join the military, that is a whole nother level in life, because it's not just like you found a new job somewhere. So it's very much hard training for 8 to 12 weeks through boot. And you got another, 6 to 12 weeks of AIT. And it's down in the dirt.
And they do a full criminal background check on you before you actually go. I mean,
absolutely.
I've seen this, and even I told Danielle this. My stepson had a little altercation when he was 17. He decided to, I don't know, he was at a party and got in a fight, basically, like teenage kids do.
Yep.
And it held up him getting his job in the Army for about another 10 weeks. And we had to get all kinds of letters of recommendation and character witnesses and things like that so that he could go. So who they take right now, I mean, it changes all the time depending on the need, but who they take right now, those people are clean.
Yeah. Yep. And it is pretty strict. I mean, obviously it starts out with the recruiter, and you're right. They usually do what they call a 10-year Homeland Security background check, which, well, technically it's through the military. So it's, but anyway, so they'll run prints and everything else. And as far back as they can get in somebody's history from top to bottom. And before they even leave for the MEPS, the military entry processing station, to get their full work up, and then obviously sign themselves over to the military, so to speak. Yeah, they comb through somebody's background with such a fine-tooth comb. And there are times where they will accept people with certain misdemeanors and even certain felonies if they can get them expunged, and as long as they're non-violent or a major criminal type of detail.
They can't be a sex crime. They can't be a violent crime, things like of that nature. But yeah, so that's a testament to where Albert's coming from.
Absolutely.
Because even, you start out coming in clean or clean slate, but they don't tolerate anything after you're in there. So, or we'd like to think so.
Yeah, because otherwise you start acting up when you're in there, they'll throw you in the brig real quick. And then the kick in the butt is they won't even let you out. I mean, it usually takes one or two times if you doing something stupid, because then if you've missed too much of your boot camp when you get thrown in the brig, so to speak, I mean, less there being a court martial, obviously, but usually just to cool you off, they'll just recycle you. So then you start it all over again. So the best thing to do is to keep your head down and just go through boot and AID, and then because they're not in they really are not in the business of releasing people, because the sheer amount of money and time that the government has to spend to process all new recruits, from the first meeting with the recruiters and all the paperwork files and all the physicals and all the shots and all the preparation and all your training and then all the equipment and utilities and housing and all that. It's a lot. It is a lot.
It is.
So you've got to do
It is.
something way wrong and wicked in order to get it kicked
Right.
out. And if you are getting kicked out, if you get that dishonorable discharge, which is usually a preventative measure for most, because drill sergeants will even tell you, if you get one of those types of discharges, people will see that from a mile away. You might not get a job for 10 to 20 years after you're out.
Right. That's absolutely correct. I think most of the time they work with them because of what you said, the financial investment. But then there's also the old school mentality of, we're going to turn this boy into a man.
Oh,
you will conform. You are here and you will conform. Yeah.
But that's the one other thing you'd be surprised about too, is there's actually a lot of older recruits as well. I've seen and heard a lot of people that are, I've seen them. I think the maximum age, I think, was raised a little bit. It's either 41 or 43.
Really?
But yeah. Yep.
Wow,
But I'm not sure as of this moment in time, this date and time today, but I've heard of some elder people going in before.
Watch how you say elder.
Yeah, you know what I mean. I'm a bit past that elder type, but
that would make me elderly. I'm not willing to accept that. Sorry.
I did not suggest that. And Ma, if you're listening from heaven, I did not ask her age. I promise. I can feel the air around me doing a thunderclap if I do. Check my butt breathing from my bear.
Oh. Danielle, you did it.
I did it. You see it. I was just texting you to show you. Sorry, guys. I slowed the chat down because sometimes it moves too fast. So, and that's a great thing. That's a wonderful thing.
That's an awesome thing.
I'm so happy to have everybody here listening and giving their input, but we want to be able to make sure that we see all of your comments. So it helps the mods and it helps us on panel to be able to.
It does. Sometimes I
interact with you a lot better.
Yeah. Sometimes I go back and I rewatch certain portions and I see something in the chat that I didn't see that was really important, and it makes me feel bad. So yay!
Yes, I'm excited.
And I'm glad that you said that, because now I'm finally following chat a little better. So I'm just kind of scrolling through it now. I know I've been with that the past few times.
I slowed it down because it does move so fast, it's awesome. It's awesome that everybody wants to interact and has so much support for Gannon and for the channel itself and the panel. So we just want to be able to make sure that we can acknowledge everybody and don't miss the comments.
Yeah, I know I'm horrible with that. That's why I gave you gals a lot of credit, because I just don't know how you do it all the time. But that's one thing I'm going to have to practice if and when not if, but when I finally start to do podcasts or lives. I've got a bit of a journey to go through before I get to that point, though. I'm still shooting for March, and I know it's around the corner, but
right,
oh boy, it's going to be. I got a lot of studying and focusing to do.
I'll be excited to check it out. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, it will be. I'm still stuck on. I've got a million different ideas, and I know obviously I do and have always enjoyed true crime, and obviously working with missing persons cases, which I definitely will not be giving up. As a matter of fact, actively, I am working on 3 separate cases, and so I'll never let that go. But I enjoy the sponsorship world. I've been doing that now for almost 20 years. Then I like prepping as well. Oh God, I just absolutely enjoy prepping. But and then of course there's just general Q&As. I love getting out there talking with the people. I love being here. Thank you again.
We're happy to have you here. I really do want to get in touch with you. just about, you said you're in the true crime world and search and rescue. I want to talk to you about some things.
Oh, absolutely. And I do apologize because I know
No, no, no,
I have
no.
your
I know
email.
you're busy. I know you're busy, but I want to get your input on some stuff on a
Oh,
personal
absolutely.
level for me. So,
I'd be more than willing and happy to do so. That's for sure.
thank you. Thank you.
It was a bit crazy for a while because I don't know if I said it on the last live, but right as I was coming back from being over in New Jersey for a little bit, my phone had crashed. And with that, I was just devastated. I lost everything. It was at least, I don't know, 20 or 30 gigabytes worth of information, podcast ideas. I mean, you name it. And then most importantly to me was all the missing person case facts and info, details. And the sad part was here I thought I was backing everything up the whole time, even, thought I had everything situated in my iCloud. But then when I went to the phone place, they said that there was nothing there. And, I've always used Apple tacking. I've always had an iPhone and all that, but I guess because it was an older phone and all these other excuses, oh boy.
Oh, that would be devastating.
Yeah, and I lost all my phone numbers and all that. But at the same time, and this is how and why we know that it was definitely kind of arranged a certain way. And don't worry, we'll definitely get to the bottom of it. But was that my email was also hacked into.
Oh my gosh.
Because I had immediately noticed a whole bunch of different things that weren't there before. And then I had actually had two separate email strings that I almost had memorized that were well, let's just say more than altered. So definitely
Wow.
there was
Wow.
a physical body behind that. But I'll just say it this way, and heck, I hope maybe even the person might be listening. We will find you, and trust me, I'm going to have fun with that. Thank
Absolutely.
That is
Absolutely.
such a violation, and those type of things right now, it's so frustrating when it happens, and then to think that there's actually not just a virus, that there's a person there.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, that's terrible.
But
I'm sorry that happened.
Oh, that's okay. But in many ways, it's going to sound a little odd, but I'm kind of glad it happened because it definitely raised my awareness and made me realize that I was being a little complacent about certain things. And in order for me, could you imagine, say, if I was already established into my whole YouTube thing and had all these live streams or whatever it was and had like a base of people and information and all that stuff? I mean, what would have happened then? So it
Right.
definitely, it raised my awareness and made me do a little more research as to the ins and outs and how to, prevent hacks and the different types of software to use. And sad part was too, I had a couple of my associates that were telling me for a while, hey, use this this type of software and use a virtual machine and all this kind of stuff. And to be honest, I mean, I'm pretty good with, say, field equipment and all that kind of stuff. But when it comes down to, say, editing or being on the actual computer itself, I'm kind of all thumbs. But
Right.
it is what it is, I guess.
Well, you become very trusting too of like the safety nets that are provided for you.
Yeah.
And you're not double checking to make sure your stuff is in the cloud. And I get it. It happens to the best of us.
Yeah, it does. What do you think about the crime lab being back at the house yet again today?
Well, that's a good thing. I believe that because of the weather turning bad and them running out of or exhausting other leads and tips, that tells me that they're looking a bit closer where they should. They're definitely, whenever it's been within my experience, that whenever a lab sets back up at a residence like that, again, I'm not going to speculate too much, but it's just, let's just say it's a good thing because they're really now thoroughly investigating in ways that I feel that they should anyway. So
Right. I know, in El Paso County Sheriff's statement, they did say that one of the things that is included in their tips and their investigation is found property and possible evidence.
Yes.
So that's really interesting to me. It makes me tend to believe that they found something in those searches.
Yeah, well, yeah, and that's one of the most difficult parts. Again, I give another huge amount of credit to crime scene investigator and a lot of the techs, because that job not only is in many cases and many times a thankless job, but also because of the sheer amount of work that they do. I mean, I'll put it this way, within some, how should I be gentle about saying this? With certain murder cases, when they go back to a crime scene or when they initially investigate a crime scene, just 1 square foot worth of a search can equate to as much as a week worth of time for them. So
Oh, wow. That's
yeah,
a lot.
absolutely. And that's, thoroughly going over dust and fibers and, going after prints or examining blood splatter or, running the luminol testing. And there's a lot of different things. And when I say that, I mean, it also includes waiting for results to come back and all that kind of good stuff as well.
Right. They also said that they had video, photo, and drone evidence. So that's telling as well. We know that they have the surveillance footage. I'm very curious what photo evidence they have.
And that's why I laugh at some people sometimes, some of the haters that I see. Why do you care so much? Or what is it your business? Or, oh, you're just speculating and all that. Well, you know what? If there wasn't so much evidence that we have enough common sense to see that's out there and all of these actions that they have been taking as of recently, come on. I mean, how could you not at least start to draw some conclusions and understand which way they're going with the investigation?
Right.
Doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure it out.
Right.
Now, does that make it 100% right? No, not in every case, but in this case, I believe it's warranted. And so, again, I applaud them for going back and going over all of the whole entire area if they could, starting from the house. And then obviously I would do more on the truck and, anything, anywhere that he was possibly near based on all their current intel that they have.
Right. I actually, our team sent in a tip today, based on a bunch of different stuff that we came across. And I want to run this past you. This tip that we sent in, there is a residence, and directly behind it, and there's a reason for us looking at this residence. There's a water treatment facility plant behind there. And it's actually something I would like to send to you because we take a lot of things as speculation. We understand that, people see these things and they sometimes, I don't want to say jump to conclusions. I don't know the politically correct way to say it. So nobody get mad at me if, I'm not trying to be offensive or anything like that. But we do, people send us stuff and we look at it and we dissect it and we use what resources we have available across the group of us. And this one is one that is concerning. It's very concerning. So, that's being sent in, or it was sent in earlier. And I think it's relevant. I do think it's relevant looking at this water treatment facility plant. So that's just another thought. And that isn't located in Fountain. I think some people in the chat probably know what I'm talking about, but so maybe we'll see some kind of activity there. And if we don't, then that's a good thing too, because then we know that it's not
not a possible thing. Yeah.
Right. It's not something that we need to worry about.
Well, this is where their intel obviously leads them up where they are today, and it makes sense to me as to why they're back at the house. But this is why, if we had some of the intel that they had, you could tell based on, say, T's online behavior or any other possible suspect's behavior that they might be evaluating and then analyzing as to the possibilities as to what could have happened. Is obviously not related to this case, but I remember a case many moons ago where they were drawing a blank for about a week and a half on, it was an older guy, but here come to find out, probably the worst thing that could have happened did. And the perp had actually watched one too many Science Channel type of series or whatnot. And let's just say that he disposed of this individual in one of the most let's put it this way: if his boss didn't see what had happened, they would have never found the guy at all.
Oh,
Right.
Let's just put it this way: I think I saw something on what was that series? It was on TV, the big meth series, the Breaking Bad. That's what it was.
Yeah.
How they used to deal with people and all that stuff, kind of
Right.
the same thing. Because the scary reality of it is that is very, very possible. But then again, somebody trying to buy sheer amount of those types of acids and chemicals and whatnot, that'll stick out like a sore thumb. So they would know almost immediately, and obviously they would follow that up. So,
Right.
But
and not implying anything to this case, obviously, but
Yeah, absolutely.
sort of to make that
well,
clear.
I mean, even Danielle and I have had, and in the group, there's been conversations like sometimes it's hard to discuss things because you don't want to be laying out a tutorial for someone else.
Right.
It becomes like this weird, I don't know if it's the word is responsibility, but it's like you have to tread lightly because we don't want to be the YouTube, what do we say? YouTube anarchist cookbook?
Right. 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 I mean, our team, we have a lot of educated and knowledgeable people. And our educational experience is across the board. So, for instance, I have a degree in science. So, and then when you apply that to true crime, you don't want to tell people the things that you know.
Exactly.
You don't, because there's too many creeps out there that listen to this stuff and they get ideas. And I don't ever want this channel to be the reason that somebody gets an idea to do something crazy because we brought out some facts and statistics
because you spelled it
research
out
and yes.
No,
absolutely.
it's not that concentration, Danielle. It's 78% you need to use.
Yeah. Definitely do not want to give anybody any ideas via social media so we talk about it in private a lot. Just different things that we're knowledgeable about.
And I agree. And honestly, that's the scariest part about the society that we live in today. And is another reason why I have the utmost respect for any and all law enforcement and what they do, because you can simply turn on your television to any network and immediately somebody could be educated about the ways of committing crimes, how to possibly get away with stuff, how to dispose of anything at any time. It's always Amy, you spoke earlier of an anarchist cookbook. It's the one thing you don't want to be like. But the sad part is that most people have seen all these types of shows. I mean, I've heard from the shows like Dexter to Breaking Bad and all these different types of shows. In most cases, I've rarely been a television watcher for quite some time, but every once in a while I see these different episodes on these types of horrific murders. And the scariest part too is our society is so groomed nowadays. I can remember, 40 years ago, whatever, when my mom wouldn't let us watch scary movies or horror flicks or whatever it was. And, just turn off the TV when something bad was on. But nowadays, you even have parents that let their kids follow some of these murder mystery types of channels and all these other things, and it's okay to them, and it's very, very scary. And it also goes hand in hand with some of the video games that are out there nowadays. Now, I'm not going to go on a big old bashing tirade, but I will say this, because I've heard about the debate that's gone on for many, many years now about, how video games affect children, and does it teach them to hurt or murder people, this, that, and the third, or does it not? And, it almost appears to me to be like a 50-50 split, where you have 50% say it does and then 50% say it doesn't. I can remember way back, in the military, within the first 4 weeks of basic training before you start your BRM, your basic rifleman, they actually would put you in a booth that would almost have, back then it was kind of old-fashioned digital, whatever, television or whatnot. It was definitely not what it is today, but where they would groom you on all the ins and outs of how to take somebody out, using a mock M16 rifle. But bringing that to our current day here in society, with some of these the video games I've seen these children playing, the Call of Duties, so on and so forth, they are so detailed and so what can you say? It's a criminal's playbook if you so wanted it to. And in many cases, I've seen kids as young as 10, 12, 14 years old playing these games that are so realistic. And what's the car one where they ride around and
Grand Theft Auto?
Yeah.
And what do you think about, there's an added layer to that too, because they wear headsets and they talk to other people. And so they're not just killing in a game where it is a computer generated image. There's a voice and a personality behind that. That disturbs me. I mean, it really does. Like when I start thinking about, like, you just killed some guy you were having a conversation with 5 minutes ago.
Yep. It's scary.
That's crazy.
Right.
To me, any psychologist or psychiatrist or anybody that understands how the brain works in any way, shape, or form, you don't even have to have a degree, but common sense dictates. If you think about, and what most know, what it takes to be a parent and raise your children and to get them ready for the outside world, and you're raising them in so many aspects and with responsibilities and showing them the ins and outs. And then keep that in mind, taking that into consideration when looking at what these video games can do, how they can mold a young mind and make them think of certain things in certain ways, and look at these everyday things that they experience while they're immersed into this online world, and then think for one moment that they don't become accustomed to that. So then when they say steal a car as they get older, oh, okay, like that didn't have anything to do with it. I mean, come on, it's training 101. How and why would the military use the very same games, even similar back in the day, which weren't games, obviously, take out all the other nonsense, talk and chat and this and that, but how would they use it? And then you're going to say that games have no effect on people? Come on.
Yeah, they're used to they become desensitized.
Exactly.
And so then you get the guy in Vegas up on a balcony picking people up, and or picking people off. And you've got to think in your mind, is this just a real world exercise in what he's been training to do?
Yeah.
Or school shooters,
I think somebody's question in the chat, I've seen it mentioned a couple times, is what our thoughts are on why Letitia is suggesting a reward. And that has led people to believe that she possibly could have Gannon hidden somewhere.
That just makes my head's spin,
Mhm.
really.
Mhm.
Well,
Because
I'm sorry.
if it's suggesting what I think they're suggesting, just how she would recuperate, or how anybody would recuperate a portion of that, like that's stupidity.
That T would get her hands on the reward.
Yeah, I was trying not to use her name, but yeah, let's just say this. Let's say T is involved. I'm not saying she is, but speculate. Just a little scenario here. She's
Right.
involved. She knows someone has Gannon. There's a reward. That person turns them in, and like somehow she gets, either she's paying somebody back for a debt, or she's gonna get her hands on some of that money. I mean, come on.
Right.
There's no way to hide that.
I feel like I would have to assume at this point that if Tisha had Gannon hidden somewhere, that the FBI would have a very good lead on that.
Yeah.
I mean, we're talking about the FBI being involved here,
Mhm.
and
Right.
their intel is unbelievable.
Absolutely.
The amount of stuff that they're able to find out and decipher and all of the above is unbelievable. And I think if that were something that was a possibility, we would see her in handcuffs.
Right.
Mm-hmm. And not to mention, too, that at this point, 25 days into this thing, it would almost be foolish of someone to try to have that young man stowed away like that, because they would know that he would most definitely talk at this point. Because, I mean, obviously
Yes.
he would conversate via text and all with his mom, and obviously his dad want to talk to him. And I'm sure the feelings mutually. Now he'd want to reach out. So being held against his will, I'm sure, is definitely not something he would want to happen, and obviously would be very, very ticked off at this point. I
Well,
can
and
only
he would,
imagine,
yeah.
even at 11, pardon my French, but I know I was a little ass kicker, so I would have to have
Yeah,
learned
and
something.
he would be the only one that knew every single thing that happened to him.
Mhm,
Right.
mhm.
So it's just it's beyond comprehension.
Yeah, and that's why I can't help but thinking, or I've been thinking the past 24 to 48 hours the way that I have been, because I think about him, even let's just say hypothetically that he did run away. Well, first of all, no 11-year-old that I know of would be able to make it out in such a cold
Mm-mm.
area and all that without having some type of firm shelter, a roof over his head, all of that. It baffles me to no end. So the only question, obviously, it keeps going back to is what really happened here? Because, I mean, could it have been somebody abducted him? I mean, the possibilities are endless. But hopefully, with the investigators being back at the house now, they'll be able to come up with some further evidence that will now it'll put them on a new route. Hopefully, a successful one.
Right. Right. It's
I'm sorry if I might say something. Danette Costa, Harry Connick Jr. is the man. Absolutely. And I'm sorry again here. I've been spouting off the whole time and I've barely looked over at chat. I know somebody said they had a dog that looked like mine. Well, he's actually he's been long since gone, but I do have another that looks just like him, Stafford Shepherd Terrier mix. So I love my pets, that's for sure.
Yeah.
That's always a good quality in somebody. I always say, if you don't like dogs, yikes.
Yeah.
Definitely.
And vice versa. If my dogs don't like somebody, that means I don't like you.
Oh yeah,
Something wrong with you. My dogs love
That's true.
everybody.
That's true too.
Yep.
Animal
Absolutely.
instinct. Danielle, do you mind if I ask him something not related to this case?
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay. So there's another case that Danielle and I think some of the people in the chat too, have followed, and it's the Christian Andriacchio case. And the reason I'm bringing this up is because I just saw his mother interviewed recently, and she was talking about crowdsourcing for solving crimes. What is your opinion on that? I mean, obviously you're here in this chat, but I just kind of like to hear your take on that.
Well, I'll be honest. I don't really know of that name too well. You said it was Christian. What was
Andriacchio. You don't have to know the case. It's basically his mother was saying that a lot of the information they've gathered in trying to basically, how do we explain it, Danielle? Her son, they closed up her son died from a gunshot wound to the head.
Yes, and it's suspicious circumstances because the girlfriend is not the best of character. The friend was trying to withdraw money out of his bank account. They've had private investigators come in and say that it's not suicide. And it appears that the local police department prematurely closed the case. Like
within an hour.
Yeah, within
right?
an hour. Yeah.
Within an hour ruled it,
Really?
suicide, and released the apartment where it took place from being a crime scene and all kinds of things. And they have relied on podcasts and things like that and have had a lot of viable tips and leads and things that turned out to be true and new information. And so she's very pro crowdsourcing for information.
Now, the suicide itself, was that by gunshot?
Yes.
Gun? Okay. Well, typically that can be ruled out pretty fast by doing a simple GSR or gunshot residue test.
Oh yeah.
That's the problem though, is that
there's an answer for everything.
This 21-year-old kid, I mean, I guess a man, because he was an adult, but so he shot himself. The cops are saying he shot himself in the right temple, okay?
Mm-hmm.
When his body was found, he was over a bathtub. When his body was found, the gun was between his left thigh and the bathtub.
Okay.
So I think there's a lot of problems there because he used his right hand.
Mm-hmm.
And after you shoot yourself in the head, you can't exactly take your right hand and move the gun to the other side of your body on your left side and put it between your thigh and the bathtub. And his girlfriend was home at the time. And you'd have to, if you get a chance, if you listen to the podcast Culpable.
Okay.
That will give you a better understanding of the entire case.
She's just very supportive of putting all, for unsolved cases, everything that you could possibly know out on the internet that doesn't violate the family's privacy, like autopsy, or I'm sorry, I'm cold, autopsy photos or things like that. And having other people, anybody, layman or whatever, or somebody that was a friend of a friend of a friend that heard a story at a party, and collecting all those things and going through them, and they found some interesting things that have turned out to be viable that way. And I just wondered, because there's this struggle between law enforcement and social media about, talking about cases and internet detectives and things like that. And from my perspective, I think the problem is when people hear something and it's definitely hearsay, or it's just some random thing and they call it in as a tip.
Right.
But discussing it, I think, brings awareness to people that may not have even heard about the case. Danielle, did you mention it on the live tonight, or did you mention it when we were talking on the phone about how someone asked you about Gannon?
It was, I think I I said it on the live tonight.
Okay.
My son's aunt actually saw my Facebook profile picture, and it's the same picture that's here up on the live. It just says prayers for Gannon with his face. And she commented and she said, "Is this little boy okay? Or did something happen to him?" And I said, "Well, he's been missing for 25 days. She had no idea, so bringing
There's so
awareness,
many.
I think is very helpful.
I do too.
Right, and it is, and you're right. And there's always going to be some tension between social media and the actual law enforcement.
Oh,
Because
right. Absolutely.
for many years, it was almost like a dark topic. Like they always had social media almost on a blacklist because well, for one, most investigators and higher ups didn't understand it. And there were at the time a lot of elders in it, but now as time is moving forward, everybody's becoming a lot more used to the internet and technology. And there are certain departments that have done internet outreaches and are building groups and everything included. However, I can see where, as you just said, Amy, where people are taking some of these facts they hear online and they're reporting them to these tip lines. And in some cases, sometimes they report whatever they hear that might not be factual at all. So it does become a very difficult issue for the investigators to try to get through, because obviously they have their job to do and they have a systematic procedure for almost every type of case known to man. But in a lot of cases with social media, there are so many millions of people that follow on these platforms, so they can get inundated and in a heartbeat just from one podcast. And my heart goes out to them on that. It becomes
Right.
very difficult when, say, somebody is having a live and then everybody and their sisters are calling in like, "Oh, I believe that's the truth. So it's got to be a tip. So I'm just going to report it." And especially when
Right.
they have a lot of the anonymous call-ins. And again, that's why it makes it so difficult. But back to the, if you don't mind, of course, back to the gun placement and all that with the body there. When obviously any number of things can happen after somebody takes themselves out in that fashion. The firearm can bounce off the ground, and as the body is falling, it can get lodged in different weird ways. Or there's just a million different things that can possibly happen. But that's why doing the GSR testing, the gunshot residue, even though there may be many excuses made for it, depending on the caliber and the grain of the ammunition used, usually there is a pretty wide spray of that residue, because as the bullet is fired, upon leaving the edge of the barrel, even if they had it placed firmly up to their heads or bodies or wherever they fire it from, it's still going to release a good amount of that burning grain or the powder that is used. And not to mention a bunch of other things. It grabs dust and lint and anything else. And anyway, so it usually will burn and leave almost, in some cases, darn near microscopic type of burns all over the clothing, the skin, the hair. So they can definitely do a lot of research on something like that. But I can see if there's a bunch of excuses being made, then yes, obviously I would look into the people that or person that is making those excuses.
Right. Right. Yeah, I think it's important though that we look at all. When you examine that case, I mean, I joined another group on that case that is disproving everything that the podcast said. So I'm kind of like, I know what I think, but I want to see everything. I want to see
Right.
all the facts, everything, because I feel like my heart breaks for his mother. It absolutely breaks for his mother. He was a 21-year-old kid who had his whole life ahead of him,
A
and
baby
yes,
basically.
Yes, yes, a baby. And
Mhm.
no matter what everything says when it comes to the evidence or, what I end up believing personally, my heart still goes out to her because she lost her son.
Yes.
And I can see why she's fighting for him. That's her son.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, absolutely. But, there is another layer to that as well, which I've also experienced, not even so much in true crime, but in the sponsorship groups. Usually when parents lose their kids, a lot of times, even the most simplistic of reasons and the most obvious of reasons will not suit. And obviously, I don't know anything about the case that you're speaking of. I'll look a little more into that. But just from my own personal experience, I've seen many a parent who just could not get over the fact that his or her son or daughter committed suicide. So then next thing you know, all of the theories will come out. And in some cases, I've even heard some of the more conspiratorial type of theories start to come out. But, and that's to be expected.
Of
No
course.
parent in this world ever wants to lose a child before they go. No ifs, ands, or buts about that. So for them
Right.
to start theorizing on things, because it makes it a lot easier for them in ways. But what they aren't able to see at the time is how much longer it's going to prolong their pain. I mean, God
Right.
forbid I don't know. It's a very, very touchy subject, obviously, but suicide, it's very, very prevalent in our country and the world for that matter. It very much is. But if anybody really has reason to believe that there was foul play involved, then by all means, they have every right to want it investigated and looked into further. And even when I know a lot of people, when put in a situation like that, they're usually not aware of their rights, and they do. All families have the right to a second opinion, and even possibly bring in another pathologist into the case to take a look at their fallen loved one to get to more of the truth. And again, if they think something bad happened to them and it wasn't a suicide. But
Right. Absolutely. So back to Gannon, Marie had a question for you. And she said that she has a theory that she believes Al and Tisha's marriage was falling apart, and Gannon was used as a ploy, as a last attempt to win Albert back by using Gannon as being lost. Then T could find him and be the hero. Do you think that's a possibility?
at this point, anything could be a possibility, because unfortunately, at 25 days in, it's not looking good at all. And who knows? For all the things, all the quirks and the oddities that we've seen from this person, I mean, who knows what could have happened? Obviously, only she does. However, that very well could have been the case. But once you get past a certain timeline, like I could see maybe 24 or 48 or 72 hours. Okay. Yeah. I mean, to me, that would be a reasonable option, or at least feasible. I mean, but, after the first week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks, then I don't know, it definitely, it's stretched a bit. But again, like I said, it's definitely, it's a possibility. But that's where I would love to be a fly on the wall inside of the FBI's little den there, so to speak. Love to know what they know as far as all the online searches and all the communications and contacts that have been made. That would definitely tell us a lot. Actually, that would say everything. Then we'd be able to cross many T's and dot many, many, many I's.
Well, maybe it started out that way and it went wrong. I mean,
Yeah, could be.
that's a possibility.
I've actually heard of that before. I can't remember the specific case. I'm sure I could look through my files, as I know I have it. But yeah, definitely I think it was a set of triplets at that. I believe it was. Anyway, woman pays a coyote of sorts takes the kids away, and next thing you know, it becomes a big deal because she wanted them back, and then she had to end up paying for each child. And I mean, she got the kids back, but the bottom line is that here now she tried to go after the coyote, then exposing herself as to what she did. And yeah, I got to hunt up the name because you'll be very shocked by it. But
I would love to hear the name of that one.
yeah,
Yeah.
she's still sitting in prison today, as a matter of fact. And that
I would.
What was
too.
it? Triplets?
Yeah, yep. So it's very unique. When I remember when I first heard of it, and it couldn't have been more than 8 years ago, because that was, and I remember the timeline because it was during one of my moves, and I remembered it was a brief thing on or a brief article on a news station, a local station around these parts, and I was like, what? So, but as quickly as it came up, it felt like it disappeared, and I was so intrigued by it. So then I started looking into it a little bit, and then it literally, by the time I had heard the initial article itself, it seemed to me it was no more than a few days, and it was all over. And then the cops had her pointed for being obviously criminal negligence and the whole entire 9 yards of conspiracy, kidnapping, and all this crap.
Wow.
Do you remember what state it was in?
I honestly I don't, but I can say it was of the southern states. It was either Arizona, Texas, or
It was like a border state.
yeah,
Right.
yes, yep. Because I remember it dealt with a coyote, and it was just very odd. I was like, what?
Well, I imagine anytime you bring in a second person, like if you're trying to commit something like that, and you have to bring in a second person, and you lose control, and you have more variables, and yeah.
Again, it says a lot about our current society too, or at least some people in said society, because there are so many people that are either greedy, desperate, or just that addicted to something, or in a situation where they feel the need, they've got to create these elaborate ruses to come up with money or fame or attention. They use social media to start, PayPals and GoFundMes and all this other stuff. But in the long run, then it's like they fail to realize, facts don't care about their feelings. And ultimately, the facts will come out. And then 2 + 2 is 4 for the authorities. And then you're sitting in jail for half of the rest of your life.
Right. Yeah, I think where I struggle with Gannon's case, and I know there's family in the chat, and I know that it's hard for them to hear stuff. I totally get that. But when you look at statistics and you look at previous cases, we're on day 26. We're going into day 26.
Well, that's why I haven't said the statistics that I know that I've been operating by for a long time, because I want the family to have all the hope in the world.
Absolutely.
But, the bottom line is, we need answers now. And the bottom line is, what we can hope, the only other scenario that I can think of that I can hope for is that, something did happen with a potential kidnapping, and that he still is kept, and he is, somewhere. It is the only scenario that I can possibly fathom at this point, because everything else is a no. Him running away and being out there, absolutely not. It's just no possible way. Him even being near the area, or even say being with a friend or a friend's family, whatever. I mean, those parents would have reported it immediately after knowing, hearing of all, especially the media. This case is everywhere now. So somebody, somewhere, somehow, especially if it was a friend or a friend of a friend or a family friend or whoever it was, somebody would have spoken up, even if it was a mailman or a UPS driver or a passerby.
I just actually read something yesterday, I believe it was, about missing children, and it was an interesting statement that said it usually comes down to the 3 L's. Somebody who liked them, loved them, or lived with them.
Yes, and that is absolutely correct. Absolutely.
So, and it goes hand in hand with. It's the same for child molestation. And I'm not saying that Gannon was molested. I'm just saying those two things go hand in hand. Missing children those 3 L's are the same principles that are applied to both instances.
Mm.
You know,
that's such a sad statement.
it is
It
because
really,
yeah,
it
it's
really
usually
is.
and you know, the statistics of stranger abduction are interesting. They're not, I don't have them in front of me, but the chances of stranger abduction are very low, actually. People, from my understanding, tend to believe that they are high because those cases do make the news. They make the news and they get the media attention because it's a stranger abduction. So people think that there is a high number of those happening, when in reality, when you look at the numbers and stuff, the percentage is actually very low of a stranger abduction happening. Not saying that it couldn't have happened with Gannon, because it absolutely could.
Right.
He could be in that low percentage, but you know,
Well, strangers don't know their victims either. They don't know their, you know, they don't know their habits. They may not know exactly where they live. They may not know their home life. They may not know their lifestyle. And so where they commit their crimes, and if it turns out to be, you know, I'm sorry, but they turn out killing their victim or whatever, they don't have that intel to make those decisions. You know, and if they get it, they're getting it through media, and then it's just disorganized.
right.
So,
And you know, in the
where
case
somebody that lives and loves knows.
right, in the case of Gannon, somebody just said they still don't understand why she reported him as a runaway. What made her think that? I'm going to give you my personal opinion. Do I know this is fact? No. But I don't think that Tisha ever thought that Gannon was a runaway. I think that was Tisha's cover story. Tisha had Gannon's phone in her possession. Tisha was able to get on Google and make the Google search that was made. Tisha had enough time from the time that she said that Gannon left the house to report to when she reported him missing. It's like a 3 to 4 hour time span. And then you come back to the surveillance footage that Tisha returns to the home without Gannon.
She had from, you can go back. You can have from the time she left the house with Gannon. She had from 10:15 in the morning until about 7 o'clock at night when he was reported.
Right. Absolutely.
That's a long time.
Right. Absolutely. Because, I mean, we know that she was at Petco at 11 o'clock that morning, 11-ish, and back at Petco at 1 something. So we need to know what she did between those 2 hours. And then you need to know what she did in the time that she returned home. It was like 2:50 something to the time
2:19.
Yeah, to the time that she reported Gannon missing. So,
and by the way, she was pressured into reporting Gannon missing.
yes.
It was the father that initiated that.
Right.
Not
Absolutely.
the stepmother.
Right.
She was gonna, I mean, I can't say this
You can
truthfully, but well, I think she was gonna let it go as long as she could.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good, I think that's a fair speculation to make. I do. And I'm not even pointing blame at her, but it could be something as simple as maybe somebody did take Gannon out of the truck and Tisha was scared. Why somebody wouldn't report a child being abducted from their truck is beyond my realm of understanding. But giving her the benefit of the doubt, if that's the case, then, you know, maybe, I don't know.
Well, I'm going to put myself in her shoes. Okay. I'm out and my kid is abducted from my car while I'm out, and I come home and I'm scared, so I don't report it right away.
Right.
If I am a decent human being and I have a conscience, by the time the police are at my house, I'm so nervous, I'm spilling it all.
Right.
I don't care, because I've got law enforcement standing in front of me. I have my husband on the phone. You know, people are calling this child's mother. Like, I wouldn't have the wherewithal to not say what happened. And that's what bothers me is
Right. And, you know, as far as we know, we don't know where else she went in between that time that she was at Petco and the time that she came back. But even if an abduction happened in the Petco parking lot, like True Helper had said, they are mandated, you know, by the building owners. They have to have security cameras.
Yeah.
They have to have those security cameras in the parking lot for insurance purposes and other reasons as well. That would have been caught on camera if he was
Right.
taken from the parking lot at Petco.
Have you ever been pulled over before, Danielle? Like,
Unfortunately.
Okay. So have I.
I need some wood to knock on because it's been about
No. Don't
10,
say that.
15
Don't
years.
Say that. Don't say that. I'm trying to stop you. Beetlejuice, don't do that to yourself. Okay, I have too. Like, and there was a time in my life that I drive between two counties. This was like recently, and I had an electrical problem in my car, and I kept replacing headlights, and they kept going out, and so I would get like pulled over, and I finally like at one point had to say to the cop, like, is there anything you guys can do where I'm just trying to get home? Like, you know, this is like the third time in 30 miles I've been pulled over. But
Right.
when I get stopped by a policeman, even if I know I haven't done anything like criminally wrong, like it was the headlight, right? I shake.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why. And I don't think that's an uncommon reaction for a lot of people. I get very nervous and, you know, and I'm like, I'm just going in my glove compartment to get this or whatever. And I can't imagine standing in front of, by this time, detectives and not just completely breaking down and telling the truth.
Yeah, see, I happen to know a lot of law enforcement, so maybe that's why I don't shake. But like personally know them. So I don't shake.
Well,
but
no.
I know that's a natural response a lot of people have. They get, you know,
one of my
scared.
best friends, her husband's law enforcement.
Yeah.
I mean, and I hang out with them.
Right.
So
right.
it's not that I have a fear of police. It's just I see those blue lights behind me and I'm like, oh no.
Right.
And I just get nervous because I am like, what did I do wrong? I think maybe it's just something in my background. What did I do wrong?
Right.
I don't know. But
I
it's
think
intimidating.
Still the biggest problem, the number one problem every time I try to come up with a different angle for Gannon's case, I come back to Tisha returning home without him.
Right.
And
then telling a story about how he went out to play.
Right. And ran away. So that's a huge problem. It is.
And not reporting it on her own.
Right. And anybody saying that that's, you know, just speculation. No, it's on video.
Mm-hmm.
It's on video, and law enforcement in the last week has definitively said that they do not dispute the neighbors' statements about the surveillance video.
Right.
And the neighbors' statements were that Gannon walked to the truck and he appeared to be sluggish. And when Tisha returned home, she returned home alone. And it says a lot to me that law enforcement has said this week that they don't dispute what the neighbor has said.
Right.
They're definitely going to keep that one close to the chest, that's for sure. I think as we already had said before, after all the allegations and all that T had made towards them, the last thing they want to do is say anything further and possibly get themselves wrapped up in some kind of civil rights violation case.
Right.
Yeah.
But I think they're being very careful not to sound like they're harassing or predisposed or anything because she came out swinging.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. Which I think that was very stupid on her part. That's for sure. I mean,
very smart.
Yeah, true. On a calculated front, absolutely. Mm-hmm. But if she had put it out there, and now she knows she just alienated a lot of the people that were helping her. So that's another reason why it's a big head scratcher. But I did want to revise something I had said previously as well. A lot of situations, or in a lot of cases, concerning surveillance and the equipment thereof, I know a lot of the Walmarts and a lot of the bigger corporate type centers have mandated the use of said surveillance equipment. However, I would actually have to look into the actual storefront that Petco is a part of, because I know typically, like for example, all across the Commonwealth in Pennsylvania, I know a lot of times they're mixed in with like Ross clothing stores and some of the bigger corporate type chains. So 9 times out of 10, they will have that type of surveillance. But say if it was attached to a smaller strip mall type of setup, they very well might not have had it. Now, of course, 9 out of 10 stores are mandated to have it on the inside of the store, and even say at the entryway. Just God forbid a customer comes in, takes a slip and fall, and they risk the possibilities of getting sued. They
Right.
be able to have the proof and evidence as to whether it really happened or that it did not. So as far as there actually being cameras out in the parking lot, that's probably the one thing that I haven't looked more closely into just yet. So, but I'd be
Right.
very interested in seeing that actual map out.
Definitely. In response to some of the speculation that I will take accountability for, somebody in the chat is saying, Darwin is saying, I don't get the motive though. I can't get that. I can't get them. I mean, in my head, and things that I don't feel like I should share here because it's so speculative and I don't want anybody to take it as fact. I have some ideas, but they're not.
Well, to be fair,
typical ones.
I don't get the motive in about 98% of the cases that involve children. Actually, I'll say it, 100% of the cases, they're children.
Right, they're children. That's a good answer. Thank you.
They're children. So it's hard to understand any type of motive. And I'm personally glad I can't understand it, because that means I'm not like those people.
Right. Well, yeah. And I can see it, and I see it in the domestic cases too. Like, I just never, like, if you don't want somebody around, leave. Just go. Like, why? Why are you hiring hitmen? Why are you doing these things? Like, it just doesn't, I don't know.
Right. I mean, it's just like the case of Casey and Michael Jones in Florida. That case, I can tell you guys, ripped my heart out. And to know how he, not only did he beat his wife to death with a baseball bat, he then kept the children alive. And the 4 children were at 2 separate places at the end of July to about the second week of August. The 2 boys were with their biological father. The 2 girls were with their grandmother. He then, instead of letting those boys stay with their father, he picked them up from their father and brought them home and killed them. That's where I struggle with having, not that I'm saying that I understand when people kill their spouses, because I don't understand that. But I can understand how people lose it in a fit of rage and things get out of control or whatever. It happens. It happens. But when you then go on to kill 4 children over the course of another couple weeks, 6 weeks after.
Yeah, there were children still alive, knowing they had to know what happened to their siblings.
Right.
It's sick.
So, yeah, I don't understand that thought process. And I think it does have to come. It does, at the end of the day, it has to boil back to some sort of mental illness. It has to, because that's not normal. That's not normal.
Well, in situations like this, there are many, many, many lessons to be learned from it as well. And I always urge people, especially those that are maybe a bit biased against cops and investigators, to understand how and why some investigators and detectives, police, state troopers, sheriff's officers, park rangers, feds, CIA types, and even on into military types sometimes get PTSD and behave the way that they do. And some of the trauma, the sheer psychological trauma that happens to them because of looking into these types of cases where you have such psychopaths that go on such horrific, almost unfathomable type of crimes. It just can destroy somebody's conscience in a heartbeat.
Right.
So that's why sometimes when I hear about detectives that actually retire out after 20 to 25 years, I almost give them a standing applause the moment I hear of it.
Sure.
Now, of course, you'll have your, bad apple amongst the bunch from time to time, but for the most part, those that can endure and maintain the mission for so many years after seeing so many horrific, bloody, gory, just ungodly type of events, it says a lot. It really does.
Mm-hmm.
So hopefully that allows people to understand the challenges that these officers go through on a day-to-day basis, and even volunteers at times, even people that work missing persons cases, or some of these not-for-profit groups, and even social groups, social media groups online, even groups such as yourself. I mean, there are many people that just don't have the appetite. They don't have the thought, the mental stability or the strength or fortitude to maintain during a lot of these types of cases. Let's face it, there are many times when I'll have a split second of doubt, but I've gone through that feeling so many times. I know how to counteract that by just remembering who I am, why I do what I do, and God willing, as long as I have breath in my chest, I'm never going to stop. But I have to keep going back to that. But there are plenty of people that once they hit that rock wall, that brick wall that just shuts them down after seeing something very horrific or being given such bad news, results of cases that it just breaks our hearts. But you just have to continue forward. And by these cases happening the way that they do, we just can only learn something from each and every single one of them. And Lord knows, after as many different cases that I've looked into and people that I've helped in the course of my life, and even through the sponsorship or many other aspects and things that I've done, I've learned a lot. And there's been many times that I've felt like just shutting down altogether, and just going back to the law enforcement that have been involved in this. If there are even any that are listening to this or even listen to it in the future, I applaud you. All of my prayers, every amount of strength that I could possibly give to each and every person that's involved in this case and every other case throughout the country and even world, I would give it. No ifs, ands, or buts about it, because I know that feeling of desperation. I know that just awful feeling inside. I can only imagine being a parent and losing a child. It tears me up to even think about it.
Right. And that, I guess that brings me back to Tisha again. And I'm in no way saying that she did anything to Gannon, because none of us know. But she is a parent. She has a daughter. So that maternal instinct is there. It should be there. And I have a problem with the lies that she's told.
Can I interrupt you for 1 second?
Sure.
We're not going to make comments about who we're going to kill in our lives in this thing. And so I'm going to give you some time to think about that.
Okay.
Yeah, let's not trigger the YouTube algorithms, let alone the moral rights and wrongs of that one. Yeah, that's
right.
Sorry, but this is
Yeah, no problem. I missed that.
That's a bit much. And I don't mean to interrupt real quick, but Lufa, God bless your son-in-law. Definitely.
Yeah. So that brings me back to why lie? Why do people lie? Not even Tisha. We've pointed out several lies that she's told. Why do people lie?
Because they think they're smarter than other people and they're going to get away with it.
That's one reason.
That's one reason. Yep. And
there-
they lie to hide things.
Conceal.
Right.
And some is for vanity, some is for pride, others is for some deceitful, evil agenda that we might not even know. And then there are cases like, say, a Miss Rowe type of mindset, or a Daybell type of mentality, or a Vallow. Yeah, there are all kinds of people that come in all different shapes and sizes and mental levels of, it's sort of like diving down a very, very deep rabbit hole when you try to figure out the why. And that's why I just try to stick with as many facts as I can get all my hands on. And don't get me wrong, I love to try to think about why they think.
What about people that like to play games?
Well, years ago, I would have told you that I disliked them very much and thrown out a bunch of bad terms and names and all that stuff towards those types of people. But honestly, now, at my age and for what I've experienced, I don't mind when people try to play games, because whether they know it or not, I used to be a game player myself. And in many ways, not say on a murderous type of level or anything like that, but it doesn't take me much to figure out what kind of game most people try to play. Because, well, to say I wasn't always such a good person. And Lord knows I've had my history of telling lies or being a deceiver or, a lot of crap when I was young. I don't mind when people try to play games, because somewhere amongst all of those games, there is always a kernel of truth mixed in to all of it.
Amen.
Once they expose themselves, that's all you need, because here's the difference between we that stay the course and we that just hold on to the mission at all times and stick to the facts versus the game players. The game players only need to usually mess up once. And it's that one little kernel of truth that they drop that literally punches a hole through that veil that they try to keep this facade of their game intact, that we just walk right through. And trust me, I don't mind stomping some mud holes in people's asses and kicking them dry. Pardon me for sorry about that. Got me fired up there for a second.
I love it.
Sorry about that.
No, you're all good. Sorry, I was just reading some comments down here. Seems there's some misbehavior in the chat. So
yeah, if you misbehave, you'll sit on the naughty step for 300 seconds, and then the next time you're gone.
But on a brighter note, thank you, Donnie Color. I appreciate that. Truth be told, and here's a little fact that people can remember for my future endeavors, I guess. I don't like my voice all that much. I really don't. And it tends to change with the day, because some days I can be yelling, others I lose my voice easy, or I'm working outside, or whatever it is. But anyway, I appreciate that compliment. Thank you, Donnie.
I wanted to, if you guys don't mind, I want to read the most recent statement analysis given, and this one was given on Landon's interview yesterday.
Sure.
Landon gave an interview. It was heartbreaking, absolutely heartbreaking to see it. And Peter Hyatt did a statement analysis on her interview, and it's very interesting. It's very opposite of the statement analyses that have been done on Letitia. So let me pull it up really quick. I think Amy was the one who actually found this one. So thank you, Amy.
Oh, you're welcome.
Okay, so this is, and I can play her interview after this. I'll just play the audio, but this is in regards to Landon's public appeal that was released last night on the news. And Peter explains that the natural resistance, denial to accept anything less than a safe return by a mother is weakened over time, distance, context, and news. Here, the mother of Gannon Stauch, missing since January 27th, speaks and indicates the internal struggle of natural maternal instinct. Time will slowly wear away the optimism, but so does distance. Having not had full custody of him for the past 2 years will lessen the resistance also naturally. Not being the one to see him every morning means not seeing any challenge, risk, or even danger, for example, riding his bike in the street, that the child may experience. This is a natural psychological distancing that takes place. Some will use the word "that" to describe their child when there is a geographical distance. It does not necessarily mean a lack of emotional closeness or affection. "Oh, I miss that girl" uses the word "that" when there is some form of distance between the subject and the girl. This could be psychological distance, poor relationship, but more commonly, it may be something a grandparent might say when the granddaughter moves across the country. We flag the distancing language, but do not make a conclusion without exploration. You'll note some distancing language in the wearing down of denial in the mother's statement. Landon's statement. "You have anger, you have so many feelings. I have so many feelings I have never felt before." Note the distancing "you" before the change to the stronger "I" here. It may be that she wishes to distance herself from the anger in context. What anger? Likely the stepmother's statements in the video that show her leave with Gannon, but come back without him. Why might she want to distance herself from the anger? "You have so many feelings," continues the psychological feelings and anger distancing. She lets us know what she is feeling. She is unfamiliar with it. "I have so many feelings I've never felt before." The media report fills in the information for us, though without a direct quote. Hyatt said the circumstances of the investigation and the bad weather have made it even more difficult. Next, we see the struggle in the language. This may be what she wants to believe in spite of the circumstances of the investigation in the cold, snowy weather. The more time that goes by, if he did wander off, whatever happened, how can you? It's snowing and you have them looking in snow and sifting through snow. You can't help but have bad thoughts come in, she said. She's psychologically distancing herself, emotion, from both the weather and the option offered if. This is not something she is able to immediately accept. Hyatt did not comment on the footage or Stauch, but said that when you're trying to hold it together and you hear those stories, you hear people talk about it, it's hard to hold it in sometimes. She distances herself from the possibility that the possibility that the stepmother caused her son's disappearance. It is, even after this much time, too much to bear. She said she maintains restraint only because she doesn't want to hinder the investigation and have another day added to me not seeing my. She did not comment on the stepmother, instead trusting in the police, and called Gannon my possessive pronoun boy. Does she believe, even as she entertained, that he may have wandered off? She said she is confident her son would never run away. 100%, without a shadow of doubt, my boy would not run away. Now we see the struggle. She would prefer that he ran off and wandered away, to the alternative. Yet, in spite of declining to talk about T, the stepmother, she has read or heard the stepmother's words and knows exactly what the stepmother was communicating, blaming her son. Hyatt said she also resents the notion that he may have somehow brought this on himself. For it to be said that he has behavioral issues and it to be blamed on him, that's what makes me sick about this. It's not Gannon's fault. He is a child, she said. She knew the stepmother blamed Gannon in the rambling social media post. She struggles to maintain optimism, note the present tense is, and the reference to Gannon as a child, which often indicates risk. The passivity in the statement is appropriate in context. She declined to talk about the stepmother. The struggle against time, weather, and what the stepmother has written and said is in the language. This is the longest time I have not heard his voice. The only thing I can do is keep playing videos back and forth, she said through sobs. When her two other children, an 8-year-old and 18-month-old, ask where Gannon is, she wishes she would have an answer. Where's Bubba? Is he coming home? She said her kids have asked. The only thing I can say is I hope so. Had the stepmother not made the post and interview as well as the surveillance video emerging, the answer is I hope so. Or the answer I hope so would have likely been yes, naturally from a mother, in spite of custodial distance. So the conclusion is that the mother's priority has been and is Gannon. Here it is, maintaining hope for Gannon against an increasing tide of pessimism. The struggle is revealed in the language. The distancing language in larger and smaller contexts is appropriate distance. The custodial distance of the last 2 years likely only increases the suffering and guilt of the innocent mother. She takes ownership of him, struggles with her own instincts versus knowledge, and strains to not publicly speak about Tisha. So I thought that was very interesting because he touched on many, many aspects. One of the biggest aspects being that, Landon is trying her best to hold on to hope. She really is. But she also has unfortunately been victim to Tisha on social media, and so has Gannon, because some of the things that Tisha has said, she has blamed Gannon. She has blamed Gannon and said that, he ran away and he had a series of silly accidents over the days prior to his disappearance, and just multiple statements that are alarming. So it's a lot to take in. I will drop the link for anybody that wants to read it down in the chat.
And it's in the Facebook group.
Yes, it is in the Facebook group.
Well, tell you, that was a very good psychological breakdown.
Yeah.
The verbiage, but the emotional aspect as well.
Mm-hmm.
Really good. And, it's from all those little detailed reports here and there and the breakdowns and evaluations. Yeah, everything helps. It really does. And hopefully also by these things being published and put out there, this will also help to put a bit of pressure on anybody that may be involved.
You're fine.
I saw a comment above too about, I think it was Joni Leah, who asked, how do people get by with this crap? Parents should be arrested if they lose their kids, with the exception of abduction, of course. And they don't really. That's exactly how that Vallow woman was arrested, because she had a court order to produce the kids. She didn't. And, well, now you see what happened. She was arrested and stands with multiple accounts. So parents are held to account for losing their kids. And, well, I mean, obviously she didn't lose her kids.
Yeah, she didn't lose her
for
kids.
not being able to produce their children.
Right.
Yeah.
We all know pretty much what happened there. So
yeah,
really, it's a no-brainer as far as I'm concerned. This is reincarnated God herself, or goddess, or whatever she is, spirit animal. I don't know what the heck.
Oh, she believes she's sealed to Captain Moroni. I don't know how you
Moroni.
Yeah.
But I would love, though, I really would. I would actually even pay to take the trip to be sitting outside of her jail cell when the day comes in the middle, I think it was either June or July, when the second coming is supposed to happen, and
July
I sit there
22nd,
with my
2020.
like the thinker statue almost, but
Mhm.
instead with my my chin in my hand, looking at her, saying, I told you so.
Yeah. Yep.
Where
Ju-
is it?
Will
July
she be wearing
22nd.
orange yoga pants?
Yeah. And then watch her shock the crap out of everybody, and she changes into some like weird monster and reaches through the bars and snatches me
Oh
up
gosh.
inside.
Yeah.
I think she already is a weird monster.
But that's all right.
I truly hope they have her on suicide watch, because this is a woman who is not scared of death.
But I don't think she would, though. I think her level of vanity, she's so shallow and almost a hollow person. I don't believe she would do it. I think she's way too up on herself. And yes, she obviously displays all the signs of mental illness and obviously has a history of it. But however, I think she thinks way too much of herself to do something like that, because they think she thoroughly believes in all of this crap that she's been speaking
Well,
of.
she does thoroughly believe in it, and she also thoroughly believes that she is sealed to Captain Moroni. Is that how you say it? And
Captain Moron.
Because I've never heard.
I always think of macaroni when I say his name, but
Yeah, I remember like months ago. Yeah, it was months ago now. Somebody in the chat who had been part of this at one time said it's pronounced Moroni. Yeah.
Oh,
but I've
Moron.
never heard Captain before. That's why I keep laughing.
Is that Captain Moron?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah. So she thoroughly believes that she is sealed to this dead person, this dead prophet, okay? And she thoroughly believes that she is getting to what's the highest level? Terrestrial kingdom.
Yeah.
And the Mormon, yeah. I learned what kingdom I'm going to, by the way.
We're just gonna float around.
Nope, I'm in I fall in the kingdom right above the rapists, the murderers, and the child molesters, because I'm not of the faith. So, anyways, he's trying not to laugh.
I can't remember what movie it was from, but I only have one sound to make to that.
Swing blade.
Come on.
Blade.
Paging Captain Moron, paging Captain Moron. Please come to the front to grab your bag of crazy. Thank you.
She
We
is.
shall depart in any minute now. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah,
for
well, she
playing
didn't take her
Crazy
small
Hour.
children by the hand. I'll tell you that.
Yeah. So she also is very, very excited to get on the other side of the veil, as they call it. She cannot wait to get up there in her terrestrial kingdom with her dead prophet that she's married to. So that's he believes this shit too. So no, not poor Chad.
Lolo Loco and Doomsday Daybell.
Yeah. So yeah.
And tell him where the promised land is.
Independence, Missouri.
Don't you know?
I can only imagine if I was inside.
Okay, Sat Steve's correcting me. This is why I'm not trying to offend anybody. I'm sorry. He is called Angel Moroni, and the celestial kingdom is the highest kingdom. Okay. She wants to get to the celestial. Maybe it was me that was going to the terrestrial. I don't know. I got it all mixed up. Somebody sent me a Book of Mormon, guys. I have a prophecy book. I'm going to read it so I can understand all of this better. Anyways, because I like to understand things and like where people are thinking from. So I need to understand where all of Lori's thought processes are coming from. So, Katerina, a lot of people have said that.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I might not agree with it, but hey, whatever blows your hair back,
Yeah. Anyways, she is so destined or so set on getting on the other side of the veil and, resurrecting the earth with the second coming of Christ and all of that, I would not put it past her to kill herself because she has no fear of death. She looks forward to getting up there with Angel Moroni.
Well, she even didn't she talk at one time about driving her and her children off a cliff?
Yes.
And it wouldn't matter because like she already has salvation. And she doesn't.
Yeah. Her thoughts are definitely very very alarming.
Yeah, she's also hinted at the fact that well, no, not necessarily with the children, but she believes in like reincarnation. So if someone were to die, she would meet them again. It would be okay.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting. That's why I requested the books that I requested, because I want to understand where she's getting these thoughts from and all of that. So yeah, suicide is not, I actually asked that question, Tracy L. Suicide, in that faith, they do not believe people that commit suicide go to hell. So they believe that it's a forgivable sin. So anyways, I try not to talk about this case on here because I can see just different comments, and I don't like to see people argue or get mad or all of the. It's a heated case because the surrounding factors of that case, one of the biggest ones is religion, and that's a hot topic for people, just like politics. So it causes a lot of tension.
And keep in mind too that we're not attacking the LDS faith. This is like an unsanctioned offshoot.
Right.
They identify with LDS, but we realize that that's not what LDS is.
Right.
Please don't.
And I was going to say, I didn't even really know when you were speaking of an Angel Moroni or whatever. I thought you were talking about something she made up. So that's why I was saying.
Oh no, this is like a dead prophet.
Oh, oops, sorry.
Yeah.
No, she's taking from LDS text but inserting herself in it and then picking her own beliefs and like still tying herself. That's where it gets confusing for people, and it gets very sensitive for people. Well, we're not making fun of your religion. We are Lori. We're talking about Lori.
Right.
And also just judging by what she has said to date, she is obviously manipulated probably all of the texts that she has read, and even being with the Doomsday Daybell, I'm sure she has all kinds of some twisted theories. And again, she's represented herself as a reincarnated god or whatever the heck it was. I mean, it's not far to guess that she has all kinds of weird things floating around in her head. And I would believe every single time if somebody told me she was making everything up, because, look what she said to date. Of course, her family, I think it was her sister that was the one that had explained to the media that she had a history of mental illness or had some issues. I can't remember.
No, her sister.
Or was it somebody else?
I believe it was her ex-husband's sister. So like a former sister-in-law.
Well, either way, I'm just glad they finally arrested that chick. That's for sure.
Me too.
The only bad part that I see in that is I do still believe her to be that vain and shallow that she would have done anything to save her own rear end, and she would have produced those kids lickety split if they were in fact alive. So I don't believe for a moment, and I hate to say it that way and be that definitive, but from my point of view and just my personal opinion, no. offense to anybody, but
No, I agree with you.
I don't believe it with, speaking of the service dog and all these other different things that have happened and all the people that have died around these people. It just, all of it equates to one very, very bad total summation of things, especially for those kids.
Right.
And the other reason why I kind of found it a little odd, the moment that she was issued that court order, if she was a bit more humble or wasn't as vain, as I think she is, I believe she could have ran and she could have went right off the radar. She had a bag of money and all that stuff, but yet for whatever reason, she still stayed in the public eye.
She's smug and self-important.
Exactly. And that's why I also believe, I believe in some ways after you explain what you did about her believing in reincarnation and all that, I could see how she wouldn't, maybe second guess about taking her own life. But at the same time, it's also factoring in all those other things. I don't know if she would. I don't know. But again, who cares? At least she's got those 2 charges that carry 14 years apiece to them.
And hopefully they run
a bond.
Hopefully they run those 2 charges consecutively, so she serves 28 years and not concurrently.
Does it? Oh, okay. So I thought she was going to get 2 charges per child at 14 years each, which would be like 56 years.
No, it's
just one per child.
It's just one per child.
Okay. 14. There's a slew load of other charges too. So I mean,
right.
I think somebody was doing rough guesstimations earlier. I think it was on. I mean, it might have even been on the radio, but they were saying somewhere between like 30 to 40 some odd years at the end of it. Calculating all or summing up all the charges.
Right. Yeah,
so,
she's
dealing with kids again. I'm sure the judge is gonna. Yeah, it's not going to end well for her. And goodness, hey, if she doesn't want to face the jail time, obviously she's going to do what's right and produce the children. And that's the end of it.
Unfortunately, I don't think she can produce the children.
Nope.
When you read through that probable cause affidavit, I mean, she had both JJ and Tylee's birth certificates. JJ's medicine hasn't been filled all year long.
Tylee's phone was in her possession.
Yeah, she had Tylee's phone. She had Tylee's bank card, which is legal because Tylee's only 17, but still.
Yeah, what 17-year-old's going to actually give their parent their debit card or whatever? No.
Right. The last known sighting of Tylee is on camera on September 8th outside of Yellowstone. And she hasn't been seen since. So it's when you look at all of it together, it is very, very conclusive that those kids, I just really don't think they're alive. I'll say it. I'm sorry. I don't think they're here anymore.
And what's that say about good old Chad Boy there? I mean, I can imagine even being near somebody, near a woman that has that kind of history. And it's not out of ignorance.
Well, he's not ignorant. He's not ignorant.
I mean, he's published many books and then he was this Julie Rose publisher and did all these talk shows and talk circuits and all that stuff. I mean, come on.
Him and Lori were having an affair for 2 years. Charles, Lori's dead husband that was killed by her brother, his sister his sister spoke about how Charles had got into Lori's email and saw the email. She forgot to delete her sent messages in her inbox where she had sent messages and saw the messages between Chad and Lori dating back to about 2 years ago.
And video exchanges. Like, wasn't she like sexy dancing for him?
She was sending Chad videos dancing for him and
the dance of the 7 veils.
Yeah. Yeah. It's crazy. And after Chad's wife died, a reliable source told me that he confided in them that he felt free after his wife of 29 years, just randomly died in her sleep. If you ask me, I think they both conspired together to kill all these people.
Mm-hmm.
And Alex was the one who pulled off most of it, and then Alex was killed because he knew too much. So
Right.
Lori and Chad are the only two that have all their secrets, and now they're married. So
Right. So they can't turn on each other.
they have the right not to turn on each other.
Yeah, they can't be forced to. You're
Right.
right. You're right. And they have a religious justification and belief system to justify all of it.
Right.
Well, now hopefully everybody will know and realize why I have barely looked into that case, because I got about to the point where I heard, obviously past the 2 kids being MIA, then about all this other body count. No. Wow. And then it makes me scratch my head about what were the investigators or police around their areas where all these people were dying? What were they doing? Well, where
there's a
were
whole
any
nother
charges?
story
And
there,
now
too.
they exhumed some bodies, or
Yeah, well,
it's
so
one after another.
the death of Charles was being investigated. It was under investigation.
Oh, okay.
And Lori picked up and moved from Arizona with her kids, and her brother moved with her. Her brother followed her up there. So while that was still being investigated, then Chad's wife just mysteriously dies. Okay. And he told the cops or whatever that he didn't want an autopsy. So that's why no autopsy was done. It was all these little pieces all over the place that came together when the investigation began into JJ entirely being missing. So, they exhumed his wife's body in December.
Wow.
And it was the day after her exhumation the day after or the day before that Alex, Lori's brother, just fell over dead and was foaming at the mouth and lost control of his bodily functions and all that stuff. So
definitely poison involved, that's for sure.
Yeah. So
one quick thing though, Dawn J said something that I totally agree with. You are 100% right. Women are much better multitaskers than men are.
I saw that. That was
true.
a while back.
And sorry, Danette Costa. She said, "You can it true." Sorry. Whatever it was I said, I'm sorry. I usually wake up in the morning having a case of foot and mouth syndrome. So,
but I think we're probably going to wrap it up. We've been on here 3.5 hours. Hopefully,
wow.
Yeah.
Easy. It doesn't feel like it.
Time flies when you're having fun, right?
Right.
Yeah. Hopefully, maybe tomorrow's the day for Gannon to have some answers.
I hope so.
Everybody send him some love and support to Landon and Albert and all of the family who's desperate, and they're just heartbroken because as each day passes, I think it does get harder.
Absolutely.
It does get harder. So may tomorrow be the day that Gannon comes home. And
amen to that.
Everything can,
Landon needs her baby.
She does. She needs her baby. And Gannon's siblings need him. They are missing him. And everybody just wants the best for Gannon. And despite all of, our insight and what we look into and what we talk about, we all still have hope for Gannon. Nobody is giving that up.
And let's just keep his name out there and keep awareness and hope that if law enforcement isn't quite there yet, that by keeping his name out there, somebody knows something and will come forward.
Right.
Absolutely. Right. And if you do, anybody, please see something, say something. And
yes.
T, if you're even listening to this, I would only simply ask you anything other than what you've already said. Just say it. Come forward with the truth. What would you do being a parent yourself? And
Right.
that's on the if basis. And
Yeah.
outside of that,
For anybody, if you've done anything,
mm-hmm,
you need to do the right thing. You're living
absolutely.
under pressure. You're looking over your shoulder. It's no way to live. It's no way to let another family to live. Just do what you need to do.
Absolutely.
I'll even go one step further. If there is somebody out there that has absolute proof and can produce Gannon tonight, I will give you $1,000 from my pocket in cash immediately.
Wow.
You can lead us to him or provide 100% proof of where he is, and we get him tonight or tomorrow. It's yours.
Absolutely. Thank you for that. That is amazing.
Thank you. That is amazing. I'm not being silly. I have chills.
Yeah, that is amazing.
No, that's not for any applause or anything like that, but it's how serious I am. This is
No, we can hear it in your voice.
Inside.
You're being sincere. We know that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It is.
But on
It's a
that note,
testament to who you are.
well, thank you.
Yes, it is. It is very, very selfless of you to offer that. So anybody who's listening, please spread the word. Spread the word.
Well, Doodlebug says she'll add to that. So.
And aw.
Yeah.
So many sweethearts in this chat. That's for sure. And I personally appreciate each and every one of you. And it's always been a pleasure to speak with all.
Oh my God, you guys. I'm gonna cry.
I'm gonna cry too. Now
I'm serious. I have
at 200. Aw.
You're getting me all choked up.
Yeah,
I'm serious. It's
Tracy
just...
L. I will throw 1,000 if in 24 hours. You guys are amazing.
That just goes to show how good such sweetheart and kind-hearted people are here. That's for sure.
You guys, this just goes to show that you're in here for the right reasons. And
absolutely.
Yeah.
I want to, before I end this, I want to get your guys' comments up there. Aw, Amy.
I'm sorry. It's just, I
Yeah.
feel like an idiot, but it's
sad. I know.
It's been a good long while since I got teared up, and y'all have done it now.
Yeah. I have listened to Danielle's group sit here and talk about every possible thing, go through every possible. You guys just don't even understand. I can't even imagine what law enforcement does. And then we have private conversations where we just talk about every possibility of what happened to him. And when I see you guys, not that I ever doubted it, but like really on the same page, I just want him home with his mom. They just need answers. This is just it's, if somebody did something, it's no way to live. It's just no way to live. You will never live the same way again. And that family does not deserve this. And Gannon does not deserve this.
Absolutely. And also, anybody that does, that you'll never be able to look yourself proper, like in the mirror again. And whether you believe in God or not, our divine creator has his or her eyes on you without a doubt. So you always want to live under that type of mindset and with the nightmares and knowing what you're going to go through for the rest of your days. It's not worth it. Yeah,
it's
it
not.
doesn't matter who it is.
You'll never be able to live a happy life. You just won't. You won't. You will always be waiting for something to happen, one step behind you, and that's just no way to live. Just end it now.
Mm-hmm.
Just end it now, and people will, whether you believe it or not, have some respect for you for doing so.
Yeah, let's bring him home.
Yeah,
let's bring him home. He's a baby.
He is a baby.
I have a little boy the same age as him who's down the hall sleeping, and I can't imagine.
Mm.
I
Well,
can't.
I know where you're going right after this podcast.
Yeah.
She's gonna go look at her
Boy,
baby.
they'd probably wake up, look at you, like, what are you doing, Ma?
Get out of my room.
Yeah.
They think I'm just, Satan, and I'm just, but I love him with all my heart. I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't stay being Satan around here and dropping orders and making him be a good, accountable young man. But yes, we all know how much we love our children. And
Absolutely.
aw, Dee Dee Heritage, you're in for 500. You guys are amazing. You really are. You're amazing.
Absolutely.
So on that note, we are going to end this.
Well,
If
again,
anybody's listening, if anybody's
it's been a
listening,
pleasure. It really has.
yes.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for coming on here, and thank you for offering $1,000 for Gannon to be brought home, and to everybody who's offered money to add to that. You are amazing. Thank you.
And I stand by that, and most everybody knows how to get a hold of Danielle for sure. So
Yeah.
ultimately, that'll
Yeah.
definitely lead to me. So
Absolutely.
can be semi-anonymous or however they want to work it. It doesn't matter to me. Believe me. Doesn't matter
Yeah.
which avenue you choose to take. Believe me, I've been down that road before with other people. So
Right. And if anybody doesn't know this about me, I always keep people anonymous. Like that's one thing I hold. That's one thing I hold myself to high standards with. Is if you come to me in confidence, I would never ever publicly reveal you or throw you under the bus or do anything to put your name in a Facebook group. Never. That's just no. We're here for the right reasons.
Danielle is a vault.
Yeah. Well, I mean, unless if you have like, what do they call that? A fiddle and a set of devil horns, then I might have an issue with you. But outside of that, no.
Right. No, you know what I'm saying though. If somebody has credible information, I've had people drop so much information on me that nobody knows. That's a important part of doing this. You have to give people something to trust in. And I know that you're that person, true helper. I know that people can trust in you. And I know that people can trust and hear it with us at Real Massacre Talk. We are definitely 100% here for the right reasons. So
I appreciate that. And thank you. And everybody have a good and blessed night.
Yes, guys, have a good night.
Too.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Danielle.
Thank you for coming on. Thank you, True Helper, for coming on. To everybody in the chat, thank you for all of your input and for hanging out and for keeping hope alive for Gannon. Make sure you drop him lots of love before you log off. And I'm sure we will be back in the next couple days. Tomorrow, let's hope tomorrow's the day, guys. I will talk to you all later.
Good night.
Good night.